A dyad in the force.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of DYAD in the Force, episode 229, about good guys versus bad guys. I don't know why this subject always comes up. You know, we have the thing about the rebellion and then the empire, and so people are like, hey, the empire seems like the good guys sometimes, and I'm just like,
how?
And then recently, you know, and this is no hate to the poster, she was just sharing her thoughts on the Acolyte, and I don't want to, you know, hate on anybody sharing their thoughts on it, but the premise of it, or the launching point for that idea, was that the Jedi were portrayed as the bad guys in the Acolyte, and that's why people don't like it. But I pushed back, saying that they weren't portrayed as the bad guys, and it's largely due to the fact that people, well, there's a lot there to talk about. But
why don't we do this? Let me ask you, you know, because that's something that I've heard quite a bit as well. Why is that not the case? Like, why do people think that the Jedi are being portrayed as the bad guys, and what is actually being portrayed there?
I think it's, you know, when it comes to, so there's several things that we'll get into deeper into the episode, but quite frankly, a lot of people see, especially in this time period of Star Wars, they see a lot of mistakes, a lot of flaws, a lot of imperfections. And when they see it magnified in the way that the Acolyte or the prequels magnifies them, it, for some reason, the leap isn't, oh man, they really screwed up. The leap is, oh, they're the bad guys this whole time. And it's kind of weird, a weird leap to make.
Yeah.
And before we get into the meat and bones of this episode, we will say really quickly, no, they're not the bad guys, they're the good guys. And it's weird to have these conversations where you can acknowledge some Jedi make mistakes and some Jedi are bad, but it is not because they're Jedi. It's because of the dark side. So we'll get into it. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube and the TikTok side for popping in and chatting with us. Darth Angel, your execute order says, hope the Force is with you on this beautiful Friday night. Thank you so much for that message. Thank you for the
Force be with you as well.
I forget what that alert signifies, but thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Thank you for the follow, Run Hidex too. Let's shout out everybody on the TikTok or the YouTube side. I'm a Spooky Kitty says first. Dexon says there are two. There always are. That was a hard syntax. I do love a good look into the core of the Jedi scum. Yes, you do, Jackson download. Illy says I'm not a guy.
Deanie Jedi. Deanie Jedi.
Kenny, thank you for being a Dyad Squadron member for how long did it say?
We just love Kenny.
For 38 months. That's more than 2 years. No, that's 3. Right? No, that's more than 2 years. 12, 24. No, that's more than 3 years. Sorry. I was doing the power of 2, so I was like 12, 24, 48. Like, okay. Thank you, Kenny. Kenny says the Jedi are misunderstood. They're more than misunderstood. There is some claims and some falsehoods that get attributed to them that I don't know where it came from. Now, the kidnapping stuff and indoctrination of stuff, that's, you know, we can easily understand how people can misunderstand that. But like when they see the Senate being corrupted by Palpatine, and Dooku recognizes it. They're like, "Oh, the Jedi were the corruption." What?
It's the funniest thing though that I see is when people reason, oh, it's because the Jedi were too involved in politics. That's why Count Dooku left. And you're like, Count Dooku became a politician.
But he also left because they wouldn't.
Yeah.
He saw Count Dooku saw the corruption in the Senate, and it was like, hey, we need to do something about that. And the council was like, we're not getting involved in the politics. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. Bet. He left because they wouldn't get into politics.
Yeah. And ultimately, that is the biggest issue, but not really an issue. They're not supposed to be involved in the politics, but because they're not involved in the politics, it leaves them as being partially complicit in the system because they are helping to uphold it, and that's a valid criticism and critique, and I get that, but
we're all about criticizing the Jedi and criticizing any institution that wants to be a force for good, but again, the leap to no, they're the bad guys is kind of ridiculous. Like if the government cuts off funding for a hospital in a community and the hospital therefore cannot provide care for that community, you do not blame the hospital. You don't be like, oh, the hospital's the bad guys now. You blame the government that cut off the funding. And I'm talking about like a community hospital, not like those rich ass like insurance led hospitals. Let's see. Craig says this is a Star Wars themed live stream, and yet Choco is wearing his Avengers hat. Disrespecting the Jedi Order, you are.
Absolutely. A pox on them.
This is comic book season, Fantastic Four is out. Superman was just doing well in the box office. I think, man, if you haven't seen Fantastic Four, go.
People haven't seen it yet. It's been out for less than 1 day.
No, I mean, listen. When you're in our industry,
I know.
You scroll through all of our mutuals, and they're like, "I saw First Steps as a screening." Like, yeah, okay, you saw it.
Yeah, that's one thing that sucks. Like most of our mutuals have already seen it, but like the general populace hasn't, and you're trying to not be spoiled.
It's like MKBHD when he's like, "So I've been using the iPhone for the past 6 months." I'm like, "Huh?" They just announced it yesterday. So, yeah. Fantastic Four, I gave it a 9 out of 10. And you know me, I don't give 10s, so that's pretty much a perfect score. I gave Gun Superman a 9 out of 10. And that's accounting for the low bar set by Fox to begin with. I think they did a fantastic job. The family has a lot of... Yeah, I did. They did a super does it job. I should have used that for thing. Superman. But they did. They did a great job with the family. All of the actors had great chemistry, but this was a family movie, like through and through. Each individual member played a significant role.
Thing the hell,
and that role was highlighted, and they shone a light on it, which is really like, it's the ball has been dropped before by Fox in terms of like Fantastic Four. It's always been
where did you come from?
A superhero beat 'em up story for Fox Fantastic Four, but this one is a family story. And it's about how they're more than their powers, which I love. Because someone commented on my review earlier saying it was a bit bland because they didn't use their powers a lot. And I said, well, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think Reed Richards?
Intellect.
It's not, he's the stretchiest man in Marvel. He's the smartest man in Marvel, right? Yeah, he stretches in the movie, but like he's showing some superhuman intellect in this. And that's what I love. Like everybody has things that shine aside from what their superpowers are. Yes, they use them and it helps them achieve what they need to accomplish, but like what sets them apart from everyone else is, or at least from the Fox Fantastic Four, is that they had to use what they were gifted in beforehand, you know?
It's interesting though, because I do wonder how much of this is studios now trusting their audience to like buy into this whole superhero thing.
Yeah.
And how much of it is us just getting older. You know what I mean? Like, I actually have been planning to just do a whole rewatch through the entire MCU because there are certain movies, like I was pretty sure I hated Iron Man 3. But like I feel like now I'll like it. Cuz like the whole thing, I was like mad cuz I was like he's not even in the Iron Man suit most of the movie. But that's the whole point. And like now it's to show, you know, him with overcoming PTSD and showing that he is Iron Man. Iron Man is not the suit. It's both of them together, and he's capable of a lot without the suit. You know what I mean? So like I wonder. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, Shinobi on TikTok says I haven't seen FF4. FF4. Is that Final Fantastic Four? I haven't seen it yet, but I keep hearing that it's slow and boring, but it's still a good movie. So it's not slow and it's not fast. It's actually really well paced, but the parts where it slows down, it's telling it's a very meaty movie for its length. And so I'd venture to guess that, you know, the people are saying that it's slow and boring are the people that don't really appreciate stories having girth or having depth, you know? Because like I said, they're more than their powers. So it's not going to just be like a full movie where they're all just using their powers constantly. Right? There is human level or street level, I don't use that term because that's an actual comic term, but there's human intrinsic introspection as well. But if I get any deeper into the discussion, it's going to get very ambiguous with the spoilers. So, I mean, if you guys trust me, then just know that the story is really good. The visuals are great. I don't know anything about the Fantastic Four, but I do know that like seeing them be a family and be people outside of their superpowers is important. I hear a lot of people talk about that, so A+ for me.
I mean, at the end of the day, like specifically with the Fantastic Four, the powers that they received were intrinsically linked to each one of their personalities. So it was like an amplification of who they are beyond the, you know, behind the powers to begin with. So yeah, it's always been more than that. By the way, I heard something recently. I have not been able to verify this myself, but something I heard recently that actually made me hopeful for the future of Marvel. And that it's that Robert Downey Jr. was actually in the running to play Doctor Doom before he was ever cast as Iron Man.
I mean, it would line up with just how many people have just turned out to play roles really well. You know what I mean? Like own their roles. I don't know if it's true or not. You know, you said that you were unable to verify it, but it would make sense because Nicholas Hoult auditioned for Superman and he gave us the best Lex. Hiddleston auditioned for Thor and gave us the best Loki. So,
and that's the thing is, if that is true, that means that he was already connected to this character. He already had a desire for it, and there was something there. Like, I was super apprehensive because I thought of this as just a cash grab of like let's just do it because he's him, and now he's gonna come on the screen and just be Iron Man, but not. That pisses me off. But if there is an actual history there, if he wants to be this character and knows who he is and has thought about this before, well, that's refreshing. You know what I mean? I'd be a lot more into it.
Yeah. Marley on TikTok side says, I've seen F4 twice. It is indeed an extremely hefty story and requires some introspection. It is not for the audience member that's only there for CG and explosions, which there are some. Like, I don't want to be like, oh no, it's like a therapy session with Fantastic Four. No, it's there, but you're right, Marley. It is a very hefty story.
Why don't we do this? Can I get you to, because again, I have not seen it yet. I am planning to see it on Saturday.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. My wife had surgery recently, so I've been taking care of her, making sure she's okay, and she keeps getting up and doing things, and then it feels worse. I'm like, just stay down. So like it's been a thing, but yeah, we're gonna go see it tomorrow. But how do you compare it to like the Eternals? Because the Eternals was a girthier story and it was slower. A lot of people didn't like it. I enjoyed it for what it is. It definitely has its faults. But is it that slow? Is it faster than that? What do you think?
It's certainly not as slow as Eternals. I enjoyed Eternals too, but or I should say also. But the thing that works with Fantastic Four is that they are actually family. Now, I don't want to say that the family in Eternals is like inauthentic. What I'm saying is their story revolves around them being together and being the first family. And the Eternals, that story had them span epics, and they would spend lots of time away from each other. So there's a lot of like catching up involved with getting back together in that movie. So in Fantastic Four, they're literally like together from Sunday dinner clip that you've seen, and all the way throughout trying to solve their problems together and kind of putting together their skill sets. And so I'd say, well, for starters, it is extremely well paced. There were some pacing issues with Eternals, like I said, with how the story structure was kind of built. But yeah, Fantastic Four is easier to follow, still hefty, but like you're still absorbing and consuming that story without wondering, well, where is this other person? You know what I mean? Like if you're following the story between Cersei and Icarus, you're not like, well, where is Ikari and the guy that like convinces people to do things? I forget his name.
Yeah. His name has also slipped my mind as well.
But yeah, Druig.
Yeah, that's it.
Marley says the pacing was great. I think it did a fantastic job. Honestly, I wouldn't give it a 9 out of 10 if it had issues that were larger than nitpicks. You know what I mean? Like you will hear that there's some bad CG in one particular area. That's not something I'm concerned about. It doesn't take away from the larger movie, but it is. Yeah, it's a great movie. I can't say that. No. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm curious. And something I probably should have mentioned before we went live, but did you by any chance see the Kevin Feige interview with Variety?
Not recently.
Okay, yeah, and just we can discuss that in more detail next week. But just a few like quick hits from it. Kevin Feige, he said, as Bob Iger said, that the Marvel's increase in volume spread Marvel too far, and so they're going to, this is coming from Kevin Feige. He says that our quantity trumped our quality. So we're going to be doing less. So there's going to be less content. There's going to be only one show per year, and they're going to do less, but focus more on kind of what James Gunn said he was going to do with DC, which is to not start filming until he had a completed script. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's a good approach, honestly. Despite the fact that I want more of this stuff, especially when the X-Men arrive, I do think that it is essential that you take the approach of it's ready when it's ready. And I think that it has hurt them to a degree.
Yeah.
It has taken away from the quality of their storytelling to tell so many stories. But I do think that they are at a place where there's no turning back. And what I mean by that is the narrative in the overall scope of the MCU is large, and
yeah,
there's gonna come a point where they're gonna have to choose, obviously, which stories get told, but there's also gonna be a point where some characters and stories just get forgotten.
Which is true. Well, so another thing that he said is that he doesn't want to say reboot, but definitely there's going to be a kind of reset of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we would potentially get new actors to play characters, and he was particularly referring to like the X-Men. He was like, I don't want to call it a reboot. And actually, I like that he says that, because Marvel, as a company with their comic books, they don't do reboots. Like DC will have an event, a crisis event, and then have a hard stop, and then they will reboot the entire universe with like certain changes. They've done that a few times. Marvel has never done that. They'll do something crazy, and then out of it comes something, but they don't actually reboot it. And so to me, it feels like what they're saying is that that's exactly what Secret Wars is going to be. You're right. They're going to merge all of these threads into one universe, and then be able to condense everything back down to being a lot simpler, right? No more multiverse stuff, and just tell stories that are even less connected.
Yeah, I think it's only for the best, to be honest, and I think that's how, with the cast that we've seen revealed for Doomsday, I think that's the only like logical step forward. With so many returning stars reprising their roles, there's going to be a huge kind of dynamic shift where there is like some pruning that's going to happen, like narratively.
Yeah.
And like he says if he says I don't want to call it a reboot, I actually wouldn't necessarily call it a reset either. I think you can narratively make it work where it's kind of like Spider-Man, where they made people forget him.
Yeah, I mean, in the comic version of Secret Wars, particularly the second one, that it seemed like we might be doing, that's what because like they had the Ultimate, which was a different universe altogether, right? That's where Miles Morales was. That's where Peter Parker died and all this stuff. That was different Thor and all that. And then they had their regular, 616, and they've even done other Elseworlds. And so Battleworld was an amalgamation of all of these worlds, and then after it ended, there was only one again, but it had kind of the best parts of all these different places. So I think that's kind of what they're going to be doing, and to put everything onto a single timeline, and then And as Lord Goob says, they introduced the incursions in Doctor Strange as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Marley does ask Choco. Oh wait, no, not Choco, but I suppose you're the best one to answer this. Do you think we could possibly get the Avengers versus Justice League from Doomsday Clock?
That would be interesting. I mean, I would have said hell no, no way possible before, but James Gunn and Kevin Feige are good friends. You know what I mean? and now that we have leadership on both sides that are friends that do both love both franchises, I mean, I think it's less of a versus. It's still not likely to happen. There'd be a lot of back and forth on, who is allowed to win and what they're allowed to win and all that stuff. But I would say that the possibility is higher than it's ever been.
Yeah. Ellie says, I think the MCU's multiverse is kind of quote-unquote rubbish, to be honest, underused and misused. Why not use it to make projects based in other universes with new actors playing established characters and new continuity? I think
they're scared.
But I think that's actually where they're headed. When you tell me that they're going to reestablish things and make things less connected, I do think we're going to get a new Earth out of this, because obviously the Fantastic Four is on their own Earth, and we've been introduced to several other X-Men from different Earths, and like in the Marvels, we got introduced to the Fox X-Men that was in their own kind of dimension. And with Doomsday coming out with all of the Fox men coming back, not all of them, but having them all back with what is it, Earth 9999999?
Yeah.
I think that Doomsday might result in a new Earth being created out of the rubble, where only certain characters from the sacred timeline move into it, and we have the X-Men of the Earth join that, and the Fantastic Four join that, and then there is like Earth 1000. But not everything from 9999 transferred. Right, so now we have a new Earth.
Here's my hot take. I hope Wolverine dies. Here's the thing. Okay, hear me out. If they do a thing where one person has to be left behind to like hold open the portal or whatever, I want that to be Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to let people escape, but we can finally let him go off, because if they're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future, at some point we're going to need another Wolverine. You know what I mean? And I think that would be a way to do it. DePaul says, isn't Franklin a mutant? Okay, that's weird, because it is, depending on who the writer is, he is or he is not, or he is because he made himself to be, because he's a reality warper. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. But I don't know in terms of the MCU.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do kind of dislike is he said that they're going to be doing a lot less TV. I do love Marvel TV though, and what I think their big issue is, this is just me spitballing. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But I think the problem is they're tried for way too much interconnectivity, and I don't think it works outside of the diehard fans. I think it hurts projects more than it helps them. Right? I think the Marvels was a far better movie than people thought, and of course the grifters did their thing. But I also think a part of it was for regular people. They didn't know two of the characters, right? Two of the characters were from two separate TV shows, from WandaVision and from Miss Marvel, right? I think that Captain America 4 should have been Captain America 5, and they should have turned Falcon and Winter Soldier into Captain America 4. I think that should have been a movie that was released in theaters. Now, that was during COVID times, but either way, I think the acceptance of Sam Wilson as Captain America would be less jarring if that was a film that people went to go see, you know?
Yeah. I also think that their TV projects could largely be used to tell... See, here's the thing. I love that things are connected, but I don't want them to be constantly connected, like narrative.
Yes. And so the Netflix TV shows I thought were the perfect example because, someone was buying up all the stuff in the aftermath of the disaster in New York, right? The Marvel Universe was just there, right? We're in the same universe, but we're telling these smaller stories, and they're interconnected because they're happening in different boroughs from each other. But it didn't need to cross over to other things, right? We also had a crossover between Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways, but that was a whole separate area too. I just feel like we need... I think it's not that the MCU was spread too thin. I think Kevin Feige was spread too thin. And if we could get someone that he trusted to handle the TV stuff, but keep it separate, then that I think we could continue to get quality stuff and not have to worry about too much having to this movie's not coming out this year, therefore it throws out every single thing that we've been planning for the past 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think that their narrative was spread too thin. Because one of the problems that I've always had with these sweeping sagas is, where's everybody else? Because you can't have the high stakes when everybody else exists, and you're just like, well, why aren't they helping? And that's not to say I need all of the others in the shows. I'm saying like, I think that it would be great to have a saga where there's subplots that deal with it, that other street level heroes or other heroes are doing their job and contributing towards the solution to that larger scale, that large stakes or that larger villain, because the narrative gets spread thin, in my opinion, when there's like 16 villains running around and they're all threatening the world. Which one do we focus on? Do we this kind of takes away the attention from what they're building up in the movies. I do think if they do TV shows, that should be the connective thread.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't, because then it would mean that things are making sense in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah, and then also to answer Illy, I wasn't saying that the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger weren't connected to the MCU. I was saying that they were disconnected from the MCU's larger narrative, right? They were in the universe, but they didn't need Iron Man to fly overhead. You know what I mean? But those two crossed over with each other. That's what I was trying to say. And let's see. You said the Fox shows Legion and The Gifted are both based on the Fox X-Men universe. Absolutely. And
Gifted.
By the way, I love The Gifted. Yeah, I really enjoyed The Gifted.
But see, that actually is a point towards what we're trying to talk about, because Legion wasn't trying to do anything that connected to the Fox larger cinematic universe. And The Gifted didn't either. It was largely a street level story about, you know, the prejudice and discrimination of the mutants and what it was like to kind of like be on the run. But like, that's the thing, like you can do that story in The Gifted and then in the movies have like the higher level of that.
Yeah, and I think Marvel missed a golden opportunity because of the Sokovia Accords, right? You could have a bunch of stuff and not have to worry about other people showing up because Captain America is on the run outside of the country and other people aren't allowed to act without, you know, government oversight. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is.
Akane Yoye says, what is your favorite movie snack in your area? I bring my own food anyway, recliner seat, and enjoy the peace of the moment. I typically get, well, this is more tradition than being a favorite snack. I typically get a hot dog and then nachos because I always get a hot dog at the movie theaters. But it's not something I get because it tastes good. I mean, a movie theater hot dog tastes better than, you know, a typical hot dog.
For me, I like to bring in some peanut M&Ms, and I get the thing of popcorn, and I just dump my M&Ms in there. And so, like, you're eating it, so it's salty, then sweet. Oh, that's just peak.
You know,
but if I'm watching a movie at home, right at home, I think the best movie snack is pot stickers, or if you're able to finely grade, we actually froze it, but I made popcorn where we finely graded blue cheese and chives onto it, and that was like phenomenal.
Yeah, at home I don't and have
craft beer.
I don't have snacks for at home. I typically just have dinner while I'm watching it, you know. And then when I finish the dinner, I just keep on watching the movie. I do like, if I am going to like order in for movies, I do like getting sushi, and I don't know why, but it's a good little like finger food.
It's light. It's a finger food. You're not heavy. It doesn't slow you down, make you sleepy. I get it. Illy says, is it weird that my favorite cinema snack is a huge cheese salad? The hell is a cheese salad?
Is it just like multiple cheeses?
I'm just okay. Cheese salad. I need to see this.
I did find out that you can actually DoorDash AMC theaters. Like, no lie, people are DoorDashing movie theater popcorn, and they get a cup of butter. And you can have you could just stay at home and just have the AMC popcorn and butter and chill at home. You can get like a Slurpee and stuff.
Yeah. No, my old movie theater, we used to always go like at the last showing of the night, and then they would get rid of the popcorn, so they would just give us a trash bag full of popcorn, and we just walk home with that.
Also, yes, R.I.P. Ozzy.
Yeah,
some of our
R.I.P. Ozzy. Not Hulk Hogan though. You can go to hell, but
he will.
Sorry.
But
speaking of hot dogs, he has the skin of a hot dog.
But I will say it is getting to that point in chronology for us in the real world where lots of our favorite people are getting old.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
There's two people that come to mind straight out of the gate that I dread from
Don't
the
say
day.
it. Don't say it. I mean, I know you're going to say John Williams. Okay, just stop it.
But, well, their second person was Jackie Chan. And he's still doing movies. And I'm like, freaking Christ, just sit down and rest. Now, obviously, he's not doing the same movies that he was doing, like in First Strike and like Rumble in the Bronx. But like, he's still doing
I was after those early stunts, like his bones have to be like trashed. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
or it almost kills you.
I mean, he's probably got like he's probably like Brooke right now. By the way, as part of the Mixer segments, update on One Piece. What episode are you on?
Oh, I'm late in the 900s now.
Okay. I'm 930.
Okay, it feels like we might end up finishing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, listen. It's gonna be a sad day. It's gonna be bittersweet to catch up. You know why? Because this anime is so good. I have largely appreciated coming to a point in the story where I'm like, holy shit, and having the next 200 episodes available. You know what I mean? As soon as we're up there and I see something like really big happen with Luffy, I'm like, well, fuck, there's no episodes left. You know, I gotta wait. So it's bittersweet for sure. Shout out to Alex Let's Yo.
Also, we do have cheese salad or salad with cheese included. We just don't call it cheese salad. I was picturing cheese being like the feature of it. You know what I mean? But now that you say that, for my next movie night, I might do like an Italian dense bean salad to be eaten with pita chips, and I think that might go hard.
I've actually just been like, I've been like on a marathon with lettuce tacos. So I mean I just put like ground beef, black beans, tomatoes, and then I season all of that, and then I just kind of like
Lettuce wrap it.
I simmer it to like a sloppy Joe consistency, and then I just put it in a lettuce cup. It's really good.
Actually, I'm not as far as I thought I was. I'm on 945.
Okay, so yeah, I should be past that tonight.
Yeah. But Wano is awesome. I freaking love Wano.
Yeah, I love it too.
It says, I'm on the
says,
final episode. Oh, go ahead.
Well, DePaul says it's the best when you finished at the same time. That's what I mean by bittersweet. The bitter part is like I know it is, but
I love you, DePaul.
the bitter part is that I can't press next episode when I'm really into the story. The sweet part is that once I've watched the latest episode, I can do other things. You know, because I've largely just put everything else on the back burner to blitz through the series. So
yeah. And then real quick, let's shout out some of the other people's favorite snacks before I move on. Kenneth Carr says I'm a nacho and chip guy for any movie theater. Dexon Download says glizzies are goated. DePaul, I do like pretzel bites. Okay. Dippin' Dots, if they have them. Dippin' Dots are also a good one. Sour Patch Kids and a burger and fries and at least 3 beers. That's a whole ass like meal. It just seems like a lot, you know?
it's like my favorite snack is like 2 12-ounce ribeyes and a pasta, like a ziti, and some 2 turkey legs. I'm starting to eat like Luffy over here.
And the spooky kit, to Dexon. So your 2 is what I had in mind. John Williams and Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is ancient, and I need him to rest, man.
The reason I don't say Harrison Ford is that like every time I see him, he looks like how he feels about Han. He just wants to die, you know? And so, like, I'm probably be like, respect, man. We'll see you on the other side.
Dex is 6'2". Damn. Okay.
Marley says, I'm kind of dreading the final episode. I just noticed your katana collection in the back. The top sword is beautiful. It is beautiful. But my favorite sword is... God damn, I can't... This orientation is the blue one, which I call Flick. For Flick the Blue Lightning from Suikoden. It's actually a blue sword. Like it's blue.
Kenny Heron says, when are we getting to the main topic? Oh, soon. Sorry.
You can see our rundown right now. We're just on the mixer. We're talking about all the, like our mixed fandom, like passions and stuff. But we will get there. And you can start leaving comments towards that end too. But you know, we love a lot of things. We love food. We like talking about food. Everybody in the chat talks about food a lot.
Yeah.
And right now we're talking about like movie snacks, but like I said, my movie snacks is just eating while I'm watching when I'm at home. Nachos in the movie theater with a hot dog, and then I do have to get a 50-50 Dr. Pepper Barks. So it's like a Barks Pepper or a Dr. Barks. Do you have a particular mix, or are you just like a straight shooter with your soda?
Yeah, I'm not really into... I don't really do mixes anymore. I used to, specifically with slushies. Actually, the best thing ever was, getting Slurpees and pouring a bunch of Sailor Jerry's in there and walking around Disneyland like a pirate, and it was fantastic. That's what we used to do every week. I had a good childhood.
Illy says, try my snack bowl, gents. All kinds of flavors and types in one big bowl, so every hand scoop is a surprise. I don't like surprises in my hand scoops, to be honest.
Listen, no, I like surprises, but you gotta calibrate them. You know what I mean? Like, I love having a mixed bowl of like M&Ms. Right, some are peanut M&Ms, some are peanut butter, some is dark chocolate, right? But like, if you throw Skittles in there, I will kill you. You know what I mean?
Well, what I mean,
you can toss Reese's.
What I mean by like I don't like surprises, or like that being like every scoop is a surprise. Like, you could surprise me with a meal and be like, oh crap, I didn't know this was a thing. I'll eat it, but like, I don't want every spoon to be like, what's next? I don't know. You know. At least with like mixing M&Ms, like it's still relative thematically similar to each other. Snack bowls are an instant red flag at my parties. Dang, KB Productions not holding back at all.
Okay.
Wait, Dexa says chocolate Coke or green apple Dr. Pepper from Sonic.
Yeah, that is a thing. Chocolate Coke goes hard, but I prefer the vanilla Coke, actually. It's a little smoother, you know?
Well, vanilla Coke makes sense. I don't know why that makes sense, but I grew up loving cream soda and stuff, and so those flavors usually made sense to me. But like, and then like the cherry Cokes and stuff, but chocolate. It's like when you see those shorts and they're letting their parents or somebody like mystery test a soda, and they have like a bacon soda. I'm like, who's drinking that on the regular?
No one on the regular. We used to always buy that stuff as a joke. There's literally what's their name? Was it Dave's? Was it something? I can't remember the name, but they did a whole Thanksgiving dinner soda pack. It was really weird.
JC says, thank you for calling out Tizzy. He's like, I'm not scared to call out anybody that's just really wrong and telling lies. But you're welcome. You know what slaps? Beet soda. Don't at me. Like, beets have sugars in it, right? Like they make sugars out of beets. So that's something I didn't know. When I tried beet soda, I was like, what the hell? Is this gonna taste like ginger or something? But like, also ginger soda or ginger ale. But like, I was like, beet soda.
Okay.
Let's see. I had McDonald's earlier and dipped the fries in my McFlurry. Oh, so you're doing like the ghetto version of the Wendy's fries in Frosty?
Is that the ghetto version? Because Wendy's fries and Frosties, like each one of those was $1. You spend $2.
But okay, so I say that because the Wendy's fries and Frosty is OG.
Okay.
Like doing like McDonald's fries to me is like, I'm a purist. I gotta have. It's just that those fries are great by themselves. But like Wendy's fries, they're a bit thicker. They're natural cut and they have the skin on them, so like they're beefy enough to get a sizable chunk of the Frosty. So I call them the bougie dips.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I do want is to try dipping the Chick-fil-A waffle fries, because I feel like that would be get all those ridges in there, you know.
I fight you for bad mouthing the Wendy's Frosty. I wasn't bad mouthing it. I was calling it the OG. That's like the original. Did you guys go over the comments yet? Comments of Darth Choco's video? Nope. But we will. What else? What was announced at Comic-Con?
So I actually put in some pictures and sent them up to you, specifically for those, like the comic books, and then some of the toys that were announced.
It's a lot of pictures. Why don't you go ahead and vamp with everybody?
Yeah, but so yeah, start with the pictures at the bottom.
At the bottom? The figures?
Oh no, just the pictures, not the comment pictures screenshots that I have up there.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sad I didn't go to Comic-Con this year. I would have liked to, but again, wife is in recovery, so I got to be available, because right now she can't stand up by herself. So we got to do what we got to do. So, but this is a fantastic time to be a geek, and I'm excited to hear. So there's only 1 week until Red Sonja is out. Okay, that's cool. Dexon says, "Who's hyped for the end of the High Republic?" That's a weird sentence. I don't think you should be hyped for it, but I am hyped to get the rest of the story. What's wrong with Mrs. Choco? Nothing wrong. I mean, yeah, wrong with her. She has endometriosis, and so she was going into surgery to have them look at that stuff. And we found out some things, so we now have some next steps. So it's all positive. It's all good stuff. But when a doctor has to cut in there and start looking around through, your lady plumbing, it's complicated. But I can't wait to get back into the High Republic, because I have not read everything yet. I'm behind.
Same.
And the reason I'm behind is because of One Piece. Like I'm on episode 945. So after that, I will be able to catch up on everything else. I should be able to.
The story is the same for me. Like I started. I'm on the 3rd book of the 2nd Thrawn trilogy, and then I was going to start from Legends, Heir to the Empire, and go through that through all of the New Jedi and Legacy and Fate. And that was on pause.
Akane Oye says movie lineup is Fantastic Four, Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth as a rewatch, and the F1 movie. That's awesome. I hope you enjoy all those movies. I'm pretty sure Akane Oye hates me as a person for some reason, but that's okay. I do want to hear your thoughts on those movies. So hopefully next week, if you hop into the comments, let us know what you thought of them. The only one I wasn't excited for Jurassic World Rebirth, so maybe you can sell me on that, and I'll go check it out.
I don't necessarily need to be sold on Rebirth. I just, it's not one of those movies that I was like, ooh, like I gotta go see it. But I have A-list, so I'm probably gonna find some time like on a very slow night to just go and check it out. All right. So let's see about this first image that I'm going to share with you guys.
Oh, and looks like we did not get an audio sound. But Illy, thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate that. That's that's an adorable. I've never seen that image. It's like a little fox or doggy with a heart.
This song kind of reminded me of like Golden. I thought it was gonna go into like, I was alone, that didn't go. It's okay.
It's good.
Right? Didn't it sound like it a little bit?
I can hear that. DePaul says I'm so Jurassic Park fatigue. It's starting to be like Fast and the Furious. Honestly, I would prefer it if they did a crossover with Fast and the Furious. I feel like that's the direction they should go in. But it was getting wild. I kind of heard they went similar, sort of back to basics. No more, super powered dinosaurs that are genetically engineered to have other powers and stuff. I don't know, but we'll see. KB Productions says Superman was really good. I saw that one about 5 times already. The first thing with all dissections. That's awesome. That's quick. Kenny says heard the Superman movie was good, but a lot of Snyder fans were hating on it because it wasn't made by Snyder. Yeah, I even made a video on it. One of the things I've been seeing a lot is people saying, and this isn't a spoiler. We see this in the trailer. He's beat on the ground, and they're saying, "Look how weak he is. He lost the fight." And I'm like, homie, your Superman died. He died. He was dead. I mean, I would rather lose a fight than be dead, personally. But, there's also no iteration of Superman where he doesn't lose. Eventually he loses and then has to get stronger and come back. It's kind of how these heroes' journeys work. And if you prefer that version of Superman, that's awesome. I feel for you. I actually have wanted to get your thought, Pep, on. There's a little slideshow thing that someone posted with their thoughts on it. So we'll go over that later. But tell us what you love, right? Don't just, if you just focus on hating on stuff, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to move forward. You're not going to get what you want.
Yeah, I did like I did like how I saw a TikTok the other day where it was a contrast between Snyder's Superman and Gunn Superman, and the clips that were compared was Gunn Superman punching or uppercutting the monster, flying around and making sure it didn't crash the building, right? Gunn Superman. Snyder's Superman, he flies in between a truck, looking cool. Truck hits the building and explodes. I'm like, I hope nobody was in there, because Just aura farming, not really paying attention to collateral at all.
Yeah, I saw a video like that. My favorite comment was like, "Gun Superman saved a squirrel. The other Superman let his father die."
Kenny said, I do want to address this. Kenny said, this is a good chill community. I F with it. Appreciate you, man. This community, welcome to DYAD in the Force, by the way. This community is all about, we're going to criticize things. Don't get it twisted. We'll have issues with things, but we're not rage farming here. It's not what this is about.
Yeah, and actually part of what I wanted to discuss today is criticism. And so we'll talk about we'll get into all that.
All right, so the first announcement that we're going to put up is this: Tales from the Nightlands.
Yeah, so we got some Star Wars horror coming, and I just think that's cool. I think that's one of the ways the MCU really succeeded, was telling stories from other genres, and to get a Star Wars horror, more Star Wars horror, because it's not a new concept. But
what is this? Is that Nihilist? I'm just kidding. Although I can see some similarities in the. It's not fully the Nihilist mask, but do we have any information on this? What the premise is on this, or is it just a horror one?
Yeah. So the details on that are, they didn't really give details, but it's coming from, like we see there, Kevin Scott, and we're introducing fans to the Nightlander, who is a kind of a Star Wars boogeyman designed by Ian McCabe.
Nightlander.
So interesting. It seeks to possess a living host and bring misery and despair to the galaxy.
Dang.
So that's cool.
And that canon.
First issue drops September 5th.
Oh man. All right. Next one we got Grievous.
Yeah, listen, more Grievous is good. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
My only question for this is: are we going to see him as a Kaleesh warrior, or is it just going to be one of those in between stories where he's serving Dooku and doing some stuff as General Grievous? So I'd love to see him outside of that armor.
Unfortunately, no. Who knows if we'll get some backstory on him in the context of it, but he's going to be stalking a Jedi Knight and their clone troopers like through a jungle, and so we get to see him as a hunter, right? So we get to see Peak Warrior.
Peak Warrior.
Yeah.
It sounds like a WWE wrestler. And then, of course, we have the Bad Batch comics.
Hell yeah. So, listen. Bad Batch is awesome. So I love that they're letting the series live on. I'm so happy that they ended the show when they ended it, because I do think we need more endings in Star Wars, right? I feel like we try to make characters and things continue on forever, and it ends up hurting them overall. But I do love that we can follow them on very specific missions using the Dark Horse hyperspace stories. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool.
Kenny says, I wish the prequels were around 3 hours, long enough to build the world and develop it, even though I don't think George Lucas would use the time effectively. Well, I can tell you this much. There's enough footage to make it like a 6 hour trilogy.
I love George Lucas, but I agree with you that if he was given 3 hours, I don't think it would change much. I just think scenes would be longer. You know what I mean? Like
instead of Liam closing the shades, he would be like, "Well, Yoda, what do you mean by close the shades?" Like it'd just be like,
The apparently the original cut of A New Hope, the one that Marshall Lucas, kind of fixed, like it was way, way, way more of C-3PO and R2-D2 wandering in the desert, like way more. And they're like, we can't have this be the whole movie, So
I will say there is an argument to be made for extended cuts where we get like because there's some cut scenes from like the sequels and the prequels that I would love to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, I feel the prequels did some.
Finn's
Well, I think they did some
to the stormtroopers or the First Order troopers. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think they did some character assassination to Padme in Revenge of the Sith, and she has this awesome backstory of fighting for the Republic and the delegation of 2,000 and arranging people and getting meeting Mon Mothma, and like there's a lot of meat there that we just couldn't get. So I feel like I do think that we should nowadays get an extended cut, but have someone else do it.
Yeah. I would say if I'm grading like the cut scenes that we see from the sequels and the prequels, the sequels by far has a lot more meat on the bones for them to include in an extended cut.
Yeah, I mean there was. I know it's popular to say there was no plan, but there was a plan. There was a lot less spaghetti being thrown at the walls with the sequels than there was at the prequels.
I would mean like just to see the build up to Mustafar in The Rise of Skywalker instead of having it being like this weird like montage.
Oh yeah, a weird montage. Yeah, I mean that. Don't get me started. I mean, like that should have been a whole movie.
Yep.
We should have 4 movies and ditch the. I don't know, man.
Also, I know it's a meme at this point, but like, Adam Driver deserved to have some lines as Ben. Jesus. Oh. That's it. The next thing we're getting is an Afro-comic Chaos Agent. Listen, you don't need to give me more reasons to love this character.
Freaking love Afro.
I love it.
I mean, the other 2 comic series, The Legacy of Vader and Jedi Knights, are out now, but they are just continuing, and so we're getting more reveals. So,
what's the time period for Jedi Knights?
That's a great question.
I see Qui-Gon there, but
yeah,
it might just be like a kind of jumping through time. I hope. Oh, can we get like an Old Republic Jedi Knight like issue? Talboda.
That would be cool. But yeah, no, it's just the prequel era or pre-prequel era.
The pre-equals. Like Luke. This one I'm actually very excited for. Guys, cover's not we're getting a Star Wars Outlaws Low Red Moon novel by Mike Chen. So
this is a prequel from. Now, sorry, spoilers for Outlaws.
Well, I wasn't gonna say spoilers, but I'm gonna say, listen, I love the game. I don't care. But you say, you can at me, because that game allowed me to look at the sunset, the binary sunset on Tatooine. It allowed me to eat some delicious food on Kijimi and be in Star Wars. It that's not woke to me. That's a game.
Yeah, I think the big problem is they didn't reinvent the wheel, right? We did a lot of stuff that was safe for Ubisoft, and Ubisoft was already having a struggling track record, and had also made some really stupid comments right before it came out. Get used to not owning your video games. Who says that? Why would you say that?
I don't know. Same reason somebody said, what, does nobody have smartphones here? When it came to like Diablo Immortals.
Yeah.
But his response should have been like, okay, well, since you guys responded like that, we'll also release this on PC. But no. I don't think we have any story details on that, do we?
It's just a prequel, a prequel story to what was happening before the events of the game. And, again, I don't want to go into any more detail for anyone who is looking to play the game, but it's
I can
available
always use
for
some
pre-order.
more ND5 and Kyle Katarn. I forgot his name. Jason? No.
Jalen Vrex.
Yeah. The true issue of Star Wars is the lack of good writing. George Lucas had a lot of great ideas with a lot of bad ones. I just wish George Lucas had someone telling him when his ideas were not good at all. He did! Marsha Lucas.
Yeah, so like with the original, with A New Hope, when he was working on his script, because that took a long time for him to do, and he had a lot of different iterations of them. He was friends with all of the greatest directors of all time. And so he would go call up, meet with Scorsese and talk to Coppola or talk to, everyone. They were all friends. They all came up together. And so he would kind of shop it around with them, and they would, tell him, oh, this stuff sucks. And sometimes he'd be like, whatever, I like it, and then keep going, or he'd change it.
Well,
then we get into just real quick, then we get into episodes 5 and 6 where he didn't direct those. He had someone else telling the story. So like that helped out a lot.
Yeah, so Kenny said specifically talking about the prequels. I am too. I was pointing to the fact that for the originals he had a lot of help in that department. And the prequels, he was unchecked.
The prequels kind of showed some weaknesses.
Right.
I love them. I love the prequels, but
and the sequels, Force Awakens had Kasdan on it. And I'm unsure how this community feels about The Last Jedi, but it's one of our favorite movies, and Rian Johnson is an incredible writer. But, JJ kind of fumbled on The Rise of Skywalker, in my opinion. There was a lot there that was to be desired. Like we keep on talking about the stuff that he cut out of the movie that might have made that movie more interesting. But yeah,
I just think he's not the guy to land the ship. That's it.
Yeah, I also it goes back to a comment that you always say, is that we need writers' rooms, period. Right?
Yeah. And
Empire had Lee Brackett do the first draft. Then it was redone by Lucas, then redone by I forget, Marquand?
Yeah.
But we need more movies that's written by a whole bunch of people. Not a whole bunch of people. I mean, people checking each other. We need narrative checks. We need fandom checks, right? We need the hardcore fan in there, but we need the casual fan in there. And then we also need the non-fan in there. Be like, well...
Does this make sense?
Yeah. So... That's that. We have our first image from, I suppose, Shadow Lord?
Yep. Yeah, I think they showed a little preview, but I haven't seen it. I tried to find leaks, but...
I mean, there's Maul.
I mean, yeah.
I can only imagine...
What more do you need?
Well, I can only imagine he's being voiced by Witwer, so... I mean, he is. It's been confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited for it, so, it is what it is.
And then we have our first image from Ahsoka Season 2, which has me super excited, but also questioning whether Lucasfilm will ever let characters stay dead. Because
they're bringing back Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt should be dead. Can I just say, Iman looks spectacular as Ezra. You know, outside of like 10,000 years BC. Like that's Ezra.
Yeah.
Straight out of the animated show. He's got his whiskers.
He looks great. He still has like the little boy charm.
Yeah.
You know, but he's an adult. I think he looks really good.
That's
And by the
great.
way, again, I was fortunate enough to be on a call with him talking about the character, and he does truly love this character and like goes out and trains. He wants to do his best to bring this character to life. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, he's gonna be a classic like Mark Hamill type of like owns the character.
Yeah.
Now I don't say owns them narratively, because if you've seen the clips going around about Mark's idea for his backstory of why he exiles himself, I'm like, not only are you making Luke look like he just freaking like leaves his lightsaber hanging like lying around with no care, but you're immediately fridging Amara Jade stand-in in the first, like, just not even a story with her. It's like,
Yeah.
I remember she just killed herself. Like, what? Who is she? Let us know. Like, what, man? This is just my plea to Lucasfilm and to like listen. All respect to Whitwer, to Hamill, to all of the people who bring these characters to life and do an absolutely banger job at doing that. If they're not tried and true writers, don't get any ideas from them. Because Mark Hamill wanted Luke to fall to the dark side in Return of the Jedi too. And it was strictly based on the fact that at first it was called Revenge of the Jedi. And he was like, yeah, I feel like with that title, Luke should fall to the dark side. And George Lucas was like, no.
Kenny Huron said, oh, now it scrolled up. He said the look of the people after finishing the Phantom Menace will never not be funny. And in her memoir, Marsha Lucas talks about, she was already divorced from George by this time, but she was invited to that premiere. She got to watch a private screening at Lucasfilm, and she says that she went into her car and cried because it was so bad.
Jeez. That's saying something. All right, we got our first stranger figure.
Look at that. There's a stranger figure coming. Basically, they said, you know, they were doing some figures that are more about like battle poses and stuff like that. And so there's even more than what I sent you, but they were all, you know, it was like Palpatine and Mace Windu and then stuff like that. I really just wanted to show this one because I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I could show this other one too as well, because it's a classic Rex and General Skywalker.
Yeah.
I might just get that stranger one though.
Oh yeah. The other one that's surprising is the Bounty Hunter Ventress one that I sent you.
I'm into Stranger Things. Here is Asajj Hunter and Jango Fett.
Yeah.
I honestly just want the helmet off on the Ventress figure. It looks so weird. Just give her that kind of comb over faux hawk, like in the Bad Batch. She looked so nice.
This is a different time period. This is when she still had her red lightsabers. This was before she was framed, but after she became a bounty hunter.
Yeah. Remove the helmet anyway. All right. So, are these comments related to the Jedi being good versus bad?
They are not. So there's two. Let me see here. I can give kind of background on what to talk about if we want to do it, or we can just jump to our main point and then do these after as a bonus. I think we should jump to the main point.
Okay.
Because Kenny was also chomping at the bit to join in.
Chomping at the bit. Okay, Kenny. Which
Sorry,
Kenny?
we used to own horses.
Which? I said the bee's knees the other day. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's why this is all messed up. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Kenny says, "Mommy, Dommy." So, which Kenny was chomping at the bit? We got two Kennys in the chat.
Kenneth Kari said, "Is it time for me to join yet?" or something like that.
Oh, I'm not in the waiting room. Hold on. Okay. I was like, for some reason, I forgot how to control this. What's going on, Kari?
Show the lies of the Jedi.
I mean, I'm telling you, man. If you come here with that with that smooth brain shit, I'm kicking you immediately. So, our main segment is the Jedi. Good versus bad. And I do want to preface this by saying George Lucas said blue and red are the good guys, blue and green are the good guys, red are the bad guys. I mean, it all stems from that. Now, of course, there is nuance. And there is like a curve when it comes to goodness in the grand scheme of things. But we're talking about what they represent in the larger story of Star Wars. And it has never been the bad guys. New section of live stream, who dis? I like that, Ellie. All right, so if you guys have any thoughts on this matter, you can leave it in the chat. We're going to go straight into this segment. But like the first overall question for the gallery, like, do you think the Jedi are good guys in Star Wars? Let us know in the chat. Kenny, you got any thoughts?
It's without question. It's not up for debate.
He wears a Vader shirt.
I'm not here for the defense. I'm not here for the defense that the Jedi are bad at all. I'm here to defend the point that from the perspective that we've seen thus far through various non-Force users or those regular people, I can see them being the bad guy, or at least perceived as such.
Yeah.
But I don't think in my hearts of hearts and what Lucasfilm as a whole has ever been about is portraying the Jedi as evil or as the bad guys or anything else.
I do think that, well, first and foremost, our opinions and portrayals of the Jedi have largely been informed by their worst period of time, which was being manipulated by Palpatine and Palpatine's Senate. And so, of course, there's going to be cracks there, But one of the main points I made in my video is that in the High Republic, even in the Acolyte, their temple was on Main Street. They were walking amongst the people. Nobody was scared of them. In the High Republic, whenever a Jedi showed up, they were like, oh, thank God. When they showed up for the hyperspace disaster, everyone was relieved. And and like I said in my video again, the only people that really had kind of reticence about the Jedi and what they stood for were dark side factions. This includes the Path of the Open Hand, who were they weren't necessarily a dark side faction, but the mother was being informed by the dark side, right? Nobody knew she was force sensitive, but like she was of the dark side. She was corralling Sri Karai, and they thought the overall ideology of the Path of the Open Hand was that you shouldn't use the Force. She was, but that was their apprehension to the Jedi. Even as a cult, they weren't like the Jedi are the bad guys. She would meet Kevmo, and he would like lift a flower with Force. No, like that's their reaction. But they didn't like, oh, is that a Jedi? They must be the bad guys. They must be evil. I don't think that was the case at all.
Alien in the chat says, I think my Star Wars stance is the same as my IRL one. I do not believe in pure evil or pure good. Every bad being is capable of good, and every good being is capable of bad. And I largely like that viewpoint, but I will say I do believe pure evil exists.
Yes.
I think those people can make a better decision, but more than anything else, I don't believe we should expect or anticipate perfection from anyone, and we have to give everyone that grace, knowing that we're all fallible.
Yeah, I mean, the purest form of this kind of concept is innocent till proven guilty, right? But if they're outlandishly guilty, if a murderer is proven guilty, it's like, I only see you as a murderer now. But like with the whole, we've seen Jedi turn to the dark side and Sith turn to the light side. There's this, like we said in our intro to this episode, there's this kind of misconception or this misunderstanding about when Jedi do bad things and when they fall to the dark side, or we have bad guys who were once Jedi. I need to like hammer this down. When they do bad things, it is not because they're Jedi. It is like Pong Krell did not like betray the clone troopers and like lead them to slaughter because of his Jedi beliefs. He did it because he wanted to be Dooku's new apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was going to be rewarded. Anakin, the same thing. You know, the Jedi's not teaching him to kill all of the younglings. He's not teaching him to choke his own wife. He's making those decisions himself.
I mean, it's more than that. He's making those decisions despite the Jedi teaching being the exact opposite. And that's why it drives me nuts when people look at the Acolyte and say the Acolyte was portraying Jedi in a bad light. Like, no, the Acolyte showed a man, for what he believed to be good reasons, defy the Jedi. They said, hey, leave those people alone. They're not hurting you. You're there to do a separate job. Leave them alone. And he's like, no, I'm going anyways. And he caused the whole mess. That's not on the Jedi. And so there's you know, it's like Qui-Gon says, you know, your perception determines your reality. I feel like I got that quote wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Your focus determines your reality is the quote. If you came into that already disliking the Jedi, then you got out of it what you were looking for. But if you look at what it was actually showing you, it's that there's two things. There's an organization with rules, and then there are fallible people who are part of this organization. And if someone does something wrong, you can't say, I feel like if any single Jedi does something good, people believe, oh, it's just that Jedi doing that one good thing. And if a Jedi does something bad, you're like, the Jedi are bad. It's a whole thing. And that's really not how it is. It's usually the opposite.
It was, I think I saw a comment that said, I think the Jedi were bad, except for Qui-Gon. I'm like, Qui-Gon is a Jedi. Like, you know? There's something here. Most people think...
I'm going to take a moment for a second and say that the only reason why I even came up in this conversation to defend the logic of Jedi being bad He's
Yeah.
using actual examples like the Martez sisters.
Yeah.
Their,
But I don't
their
think-
entire circumstance was created by Jedi during a war. Not saying it was bad, but
Absolutely.
the circumstances were created by the Jedi, and they did nothing, literally uprooting their mandate. But the same can be said during Ahsoka's trial. Even though they were maintaining that mandate, there were still people protesting against them.
Mhm.
Now, in that series of segments, it's hard to perceive whether it is propaganda that they're listening to or if it's their own mentalities, that they believe that the Jedi are doing wrong by being a part of the war. So in a lot of ways, the average person may switch their thoughts to an organization like the Jedi, for example, just on the perception.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, and that's kind of the point. So I'm in full agreement with you that especially the Martez sisters example, they lost their parents because of an accident that the Jedi were partially, were involved in. This is kind of
there's a caveat.
Well, you have to let me get to that though, right? Because this is also the same superhero trope, right? If a train is about to crash into a city, I mean, it's the trolley problem. The accident that killed their parents also saved a lot of other people. Is that a fair trade to make? I don't know. I don't know who is allowed to make that choice. But at the end of the day, the thing I'd really love to stress is that the war was fake. This was not a real war. The only purpose that this conflict existed was to turn the galaxy against the Jedi. That's literally the only reason that there was any conflict whatsoever. And the conflict couldn't be solved by the Jedi because it would be maintained as long as Palpatine needed it to be in order to shape the perception of the Jedi being the warmongers.
Totally agree. I have nothing to add to that point. And I think that's a larger conversation that needs to actually be talked about, is how people perceive these organizations. Like for the entire length of the Clone Wars, a lot of people thought the war was good, the CIS was bad, and the Republic was good. But on the same opposition, you had that one episode with those what was those monkey people?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember their damn name.
Lerman.
Yeah, they wanted nothing to do with the war. They didn't care who it was, whether it was CIS or Republic. They just didn't want to be a part of it whatsoever. It's all about the perceptions. As far as they're concerned, one group doing bad and one group doing good for the same exact cause does not add up.
Well, I mean, also there is not really, in these situations, there's not really a good or a bad side. This is just a conflict of people who wanted more freedom because they didn't feel like they were being properly represented, and the Republic, who didn't want this whole thing to split up. But again, that's what Palpatine took advantage of. Normally, all of those conflicts are solved by talking, by meeting people. They didn't have a standing army. There was no Republic army. There was no CIS army. He created two armies on both sides so that they would have ammunition to fight each other.
There's so 2 points to kind of push back on with nuance and a caveat. Trace tells Ahsoka they don't think that the Jedi are bad. Right? When she's talking to her about the incident. They what's her sister's name? Well, she says that her Rafa. She says that she tells Ahsoka that Rafa resents the Jedi that was responsible for their parents' death. Right?
Which was Luminara, who I resent as well.
And as Choco says, Luminara was not doing anything evil, right? It was collateral. I'd argue Luminara handled it poorly, obviously, but like I said, even the Martez sisters, or I would just kind of give that to Trace. Even Trace recognizes that the Jedi were doing good. It was pursuing Zero the Hutt, but they have resentment. They blame the Jedi for their parents' death, but they don't view them as bad people, right?
No,
And
but
so-
it really does open up a bigger conversation.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
it's just the thought of it opens up a bigger conversation. And I think a lot of people's defense on going into like full blown Jedi hate, all they see are war dogs. All they see are attack dogs. These are people. The Jedi are supposed to be people of peace. Are supposed to be individuals who defend the innocent, no matter what. By becoming part of the Republic, as we've seen in the Acolyte, it almost contradicts their entire mandate, because now they're limited to only what the Republic says is good, instead of the actual good they did.
Yeah, and that's largely due to Palpatine.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
pushback is his name is Loch Durd, right? The other
Yes,
the
thank
other
you.
pushback
Thank you.
for that episode is that while they weren't taking sides and the Lurmen were largely neutral and they didn't want any part of the war, Loch Durd was going to test his weapon on them anyway. And had Anakin not been there, they would have
just been
wiped out.
genocided. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like that, stuck between two bad choices with entering the war or not entering the war. So they entered the war because Palpatine integrated them into the Grand Army. But had they refused, would innocent civilians have died because they weren't providing a counter to those scales, in terms of military power and the conflict. And with the Acolytes, I mean, the narrative is clear. The Jedi was like, you've already interfered enough. Come, get out of there. Don't interfere. We're not going to sanction separating these children from their coven. And Sol was like, but I want a Padawan. I love her. It's like, don't.
It was clear one individual's pushing their thoughts onto the Jedi instead of actually listening to their superiors. It's one. I hate this analogy, but it's one bad cop doing whatever the hell they wish to, not listening to the overall higher officers, their sergeant, as it were.
Yeah.
I don't like to view the Jedi as cops, though. Because,
Yeah, I don't either, but it's the only thing close that I can come up with.
I understand the analogy, and especially because it's so common in media for the hero to be the one guy who goes against the system and breaks the rules and does whatever it takes. That's something that's always often portrayed. And I feel like a lot of people turn their brains off because it's a similar story. And so their brain just says, oh, I recognize this pattern. This is what's happening. And they don't pay attention to what's actually happening.
Yeah, and I think it's especially difficult for Force sensitives. Like we keep saying with the Jedi Code, it is not, there is no emotion, therefore you must live without it. It's there is no emotion when it comes to connecting with the Force. Because a regular Joe Farmer on Seleucami that gets angry is just going to have a bad day, drown it out with some liquor and go home. A Jedi who's drowning in their emotions is gonna genocide something. I don't know, but they're gonna do something that is representative of how the dark side truly corrupts somebody.
Yeah, it is not the same.
And in the Acolyte, and I'm on a constant Indara apology tour because I freaking I was like, damn it,
We
Indara.
hated her.
Yeah.
Throughout most of the show.
And then that one line that just blew the lid off of Sol's mistake. Do not alter this little girl's destiny because you have formed an emotional attachment. And he's like, that's not what's happening here. And that belligerent response was like, Soul, calm the fuck down, dude. Like, this is the dark side, clearly, like playing on your love and your emotion for this girl. And while I could concede that Soul actually did legitimately love Osha, he also had very selfish needs. Like, I feel she is to be my Padawan. Like, it's her destiny. Like, he said that. And she's like, she pet, like, Indara, like, stop.
Yep.
And by the way, I wish we had talked about that last week too, because that is a fantastic example of attachment. He could not let her go, even though they're like, leave her alone. She has a family. They're doing okay, you know, and she would have been allowed to go anyways. But he had to get involved and kill their mom, you know, on accident. But yeah, it's all about how it's very easy. It's a very slippery slope, and you can find yourself, even though you have the best of intentions, doing the wrong thing.
Now there were exacerbating okay, we lost Kenny, but he'll be back, I suppose. There were exacerbating factors on both sides. Anastasia wanted to work with the Jedi. There were some initial kind of hesitations with Anastasia, but she largely wanted to work with the Jedi, and she was going to let Osha go with, I don't know why he's not showing up here. Can we do it again?
Also, Average Guy Entertainments,
come back in.
Ask us, go ahead and ask us the DCU question.
No problem.
But yeah, Anastasia was largely wanting to be cooperative. She was talking to Osha, is like, is this what you want? And Osha's like, yes, this is what I want. Coral and the other witches of Brendok were being very antagonistic. And so when you mix Soul's irrational behavior with the other, that's what created the conflict, right? There's two sides to a conflict always, but like, that's what I'm trying to get at is both Soul and Coral were being guided by very, very selfish means.
Yeah. And at the end, Soul, and I love Soul. Don't take this as as disliking the character. His mistakes are why we like him. But the way he preyed on now his name is escaping me, the boy, in order to give him an excuse to go in there, was also just wrong. Yeah.
Average Guy Entertainment, you guys up for a DCU question or just Star Wars? No, you can go ahead and do that. Just leave your question and we'll address it as it comes up. Let's see. The Jedi aren't supposed to get directly involved unless absolutely necessary because of the domino effects, as we saw with Soul and Indara. Exactly. Which is kind of...
they have to be very cognizant of a lot of stuff when they get involved. So.
And this occurs in Tales of the Jedi too, with Dooku and Mace. You know, they were there to get Katri's body for a funeral, and Dooku wanted to go further, and Mace is like, can we like talk to the council? And Dooku was like, no. He's like, okay, fine, let's do whatever you want to do, right? And so I find it like, I know not everybody is going to read the extra content,
and because of that they all died. I just want to point out the end that should have launched an investigation to get to the bottom of what was happening, but it ended with all of them dying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I was saying was, like, I don't expect everybody to read the extra books, the comics, and be as deep in lore as possible. But if you're going to take from the Acolyte, I don't know how you can get the Jedi are bad guys when they were largely lobbying for them to get out of there and not interfere. That was the Jedi's decision.
Yeah. Also, I mean, so there's another thing I want to toss out. I feel like I mean, I feel like the Star Wars fandom is like a microcosm of the United States demographics. And there's, not to make any of this political, but there is a thing that I see happen often, and it is specifically with people on, with like Democrats or people on the left, where if someone makes a mistake or says something wrong or out of place, there's no forgiveness. There's no second chance. It is
the ultra good guy.
And
it's the ultra good guy look. Like, as far as they're concerned, they're looking at the Jedi as paragons of pure good. So if they do something even remotely wrong, that's it.
Yeah, and it's not even like, well, now I think they are imperfect or they made this mistake. It's no, they are the bad guy. They are evil now, and you know what I mean. It's almost like, and Trevor Noah put it in a way I just really like. It's almost like you're playing pickup basketball, and someone on your team makes a mistake, and then you're like, "Oh, you're on that team then, huh?" You're like, "No, I made a mistake." They're like, "No, you're playing for the other team." And now you kick, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. People,
I get it, because I was the guy on the other team.
So Kenny, we were in mid conversation and discussion. If you can reiterate what your main point is.
My main point is.
Oh no, Kenny in the chat. Sorry.
Oh.
But if you do have a main point,
I forgot. No, I was going to say it's all about the perception.
Yeah.
Like it's how you look at the Jedi. So I think we're on the right track as far as like the Acolyte, where we see individuals making BS mistakes and not the whole. But it keeps coming down to, how do average Joes or average Janes look at the Jedi as a whole? And the only examples I get, and as Pep has already debunked, is the Martez sisters, the protest during Ahsoka's trial, basically everything in the Acolyte. Another good one that I can come up with is Andor. There's actually a small, very tiny, small reference in the second season when Andor is looking at that Force healer, like, this is all hokum. This is all BS. It's things like that. Like, it's the people's perceptions on almost true paragons of good. You don't believe it. You don't think that these individuals can be that good.
I will say, I mean, that's what
that
is more along the lines of Han Solo, like his whole like hokey religion type of stuff. Like, it's not like, I don't think Andor or Han have any like ill conceived notion of the Jedi, but I do believe with the existence of, just like in our real world, with the existence of con men and fake psychics and stuff, that there comes with it a stigma where, like, oh, is that a Force healer? Like, really? Like,
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
You know what? As far as Kenny Heron in the chat, the thing that sparked that conversation, and I did want to get everyone's thoughts on it here. I saved the comment. It says, "Can we agree Qui-Gon is not as good a Jedi as he's cracked up to be? Bro put Anakin's life in danger multiple times because of the will of the Force, which is kind of bending the will of the Force."
As a defender of Qui-Gon, no. Like, he goes exactly by the will of the Force. I think he is the only actual Jedi of the prequel era that is the true definition of what a Jedi is supposed to be. There are a lot of books, as Pep has mentioned, that does bring context to it, but at the same time, you can see it even in the cartoons, even in Visions, just how he operates. It's almost like he's being pulled towards it, not chooses it on his own free will.
So with Qui-Gon, like, the way I think about him is he had a very flexible mind. He allowed for other possibilities. He allowed for stuff in the moment. I do think a lot of people's thoughts about Qui-Gon are not well formed. Or how do I put it? Like, especially so when it comes to Anakin, I feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, if Qui-Gon was his teacher, he would have let Anakin like get away with these things, and then he wouldn't have turned to the dark side. He's like, no. Qui-Gon, sometimes Qui-Gon was mad at the Jedi because they were too lenient and thought they should be stricter on punishing people who didn't follow the rules. You know what I mean? Or people thought Qui-Gon was wild because he would do things that most people would consider unethical to do.
I wouldn't call a Wookiee unethical, but
but he would do things, or he would like, the way he would use mind tricks on people, or the way he would partner with actual villains to do stuff, would be considered, uncouth or like collusion, stuff like that. But he had a really flexible mind and not morality system, because he never compromise his morals, but I don't know that I would say that he's the purest expression of like what a Jedi should be, but I think he is an expression, a great expression. I think the greatest Jedi of all time would be if you had a triangle of Qui-Gon, Yoda, and Mace Windu, the person in the center would be the best, and the person closest to that, I think, is Obi-Wan. With Kanan being a close second in there, but yeah, I think they all embody different aspects of what's needed, but each one comes with drawbacks.
This goes back to the main point, which is like not main point, but this goes back to a point that nobody's perfect.
Yeah,
like the way I would describe Qui-Gon is, see, no one can ever truly be in tune with the will of the Force exactly. Right? It's all about interpreting it. This is how some people just like come to wild conclusions on their own. Right? I think Qui-Gon tried his best because he was always questioning it, and he was always trying to make sure that it was the best interpretation he could come up with. Right, but
and that's why I love him.
Yeah,
it's always questioning. I'm always questioning myself. Why do I think this? Why do I believe this? Do I have anything to back it up? What does the opposite say? Is that more logical? Am I just biased towards this? I question everything.
But I do believe that Qui-Gon was fallible, just like every other Jedi. Yeah. I do think that him telling. Bringing Anakin to the Theed Palace was dangerous. Qui-Gon hasn't read the script. He doesn't know he's gonna blow up the control ship. He's just stay in the starfighter and you'll be safe. Like, I don't know, So I get that point entirely. But he's still very prudent, when it comes to making these decisions.
He felt like he was training Anakin at that point. That's the only defense I can do for Qui-Gon in that instance, was that he felt that he needed to train the boy. Period.
I do think that was his greatest weakness, was the amount of chips he put in the prophecy. Because I'm trying to imagine now a story where he's like, will you take him with you? Is he to become a Jedi? And instead of saying our meeting was not a coincidence, he would have been like, well, I don't know, we'll see. he does have a virgins around him.
He's not real.
But I can't.
He's not real, Averos. There's no.
there's an argument to be made for either or, but I do agree with Choco that that Obi-Wan is a close second to perfect because he was always aware of the consequences, always aware of the underpinnings of things, and no matter what happened, like he lost his love, he lost Padme, he lost his master, he lost a lot of people, and like not 5 seconds after he's like, okay, back to work. Like, you want to talk about like Anakin having like traumas? Obi-Wan's lost people too, and in his arms, and he never fell. Like he didn't even dip.
Jay Bird, have a good one.
Like, can you imagine if like Satine dying in his arms, he dipped just a little bit? He didn't. He was like, oh, and then let go. It's just, what would his response be? I think he kills Maul then and there and be like, okay, that felt good to get it off my chest.
Yeah, and then but do you know how horribly he would carry that weight forward if he did that? And
you saw that in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and that's why I really love Obi-Wan as a character, because I mean this is something I talk about with Mace Windu all the time. Is like he would disagree with you, but he would still be ride or die. He'd tell you Count Dooku couldn't possibly do this, but he still is the one who walks up and puts a sword to his throat and says this party's over, right? He said we can't do this investigation. We need to tell the council. That's what we're supposed to do. He was like, no, we're going in. He's like, all right, let's do it. If we're going to do it, we're doing it. And Obi-Wan had that same mentality, right? Yeah, like you watch Attack of the Clones, and he's like, Anakin, you're too rash. You're jumping into things headstrong. And then 3 seconds later, he's flying through a window to grab a little thing as he's swinging around. He would be like, y'all doing too much, but he would do more. He does that exact same thing in the self-titled book Padawan. Like, he just does it. He doesn't think of the consequences. He just trusts. So for him, he's trusting his training that he's received thus far with Qui-Gon up to that point. And he's trusting his own will, as it were, his own training with other masters. Obi-Wan is one of the few individuals that is a ride and die, but he's not like not thinking too far ahead. He is thinking ahead. He's in the moment. I mean, so to Kenny Heron, I mean, I do agree that he's not as cracked up as a lot of people believe him to be, but he's still amazing.
I also,
you know what I mean? That's like,
I also disagree with the notion that he was bending the will of the Force.
Oh, I do disagree with that as well. Yeah.
The only way you could bend the will of the Force is to go against it, like intentionally, purposefully, and he acted based on his interpretation of where it was going. He never truly went against it. It's also worth asking, why does the Force have a will? The will doesn't necessarily have a I mean, the Force doesn't necessarily have a will. It wants to be in balance, and when it's thrown out of balance, it will assert its will to correct itself.
The Force
this is the hot take. This is the hot take when it comes to the will of the Force. The Force is the narrative. Is the narrative of Star Wars. The will is like destiny. It's already been planned out. It's already been put in. Even if we do add things here and there as like shivs, if you will, like wooden shivs. It doesn't matter. It's planned to be put back into that narrative, and it fits throughout the whole thing. So when you say it's going against the will of the Force, that you're basically saying that you're going against the very thing that is being written. No, it is actually part of the narrative will that they are to do this.
I wouldn't go as far as predetermination, because I think the will of the Force, as it relates to destiny, is it wants to be a certain way. It wants to be in balance, and it wants to remain that way, and to see that its cycle remains uninterrupted. When it comes to the thing that throws it out of balance, it lines up, its will lines up with coming back into balance. And it contacts those who can hear the will, and it's up to them to act. It's up to Chirrut Îmwe to walk through the fire and press that switch. It's up to Andor to be where he needs to be, and to carry what he's collecting along the way for the Death Star to explode. But it's not predetermined in a way where if that person fails, it's going to happen anyway, because it's destiny. You know what I mean? I don't think it's that hard line.
I mean, the direct quote from George Lucas is, everyone has a destiny, but they can choose, but they have to choose to follow it, right? So the way I've always thought about it is, I mean, the Force is the energy field of life, and life wants to continue, right? So I think of it as like a plant that is growing towards the sunlight. And if you block that sunlight, it's going to grow around it. But that's the will of the plant. The plant's not like, oh, damn it, I got to swerve left. No, it's just that's just, how it happens. Balance in the Force is more akin to harmony, like in like an ecosystem. Ecosystems are self-balancing. If something happens, it will correct itself, right? You have a bunch of trees grow up, and they get so dense that the shrubbery underneath dies out because it doesn't get the sunlight and nutrients. Those grow super big, then the roots all get tangled up. Those trees can die and fall over or catch fire, and then that soil from the fire will actually spring new life, and that whole cycle will begin again. That is the Force's,
there are natural
quote unquote
fires.
That is the Force's self-determination, if you will. And so like people who are unbalancing the Force are the ones who are threatening to throw that balance out of whack to the point where it cannot correct itself. And so I mean, I believe that's where the Force will nominate individuals to try and help it. I don't believe it's
very heavily
determination.
Like Gina says in YouTube, it leans heavily towards life. Right. And it's especially going off of the narratives that we've seen in Star Wars, just across the compendium of stories we have, it's always been about people threatening life. And that throws it out of balance. And then it calls up the Charlie's Angels and the Jedi is like, hey, listen, the Sith are doing some shit. And then like some Jedi are like, ooh, I want to join in and do that shit. But then like,
you said Charlie's Angels, I pictured the Powerpuff Girls. The red throne. It's the mayor.
The Force is life itself, KB says, which is correct, because it's called the living Force. It is fed by life, and it is maintained by life. And then the cosmic Force is the energy that the living Force gives off, which connects everything across the cosmos.
Now, I do have my own conspiracy type thing, though. So let me toss this out there.
Wait. Daxon says, what are the wills of the Force then? The wills are serenity, anger, joy, sadness. It's all of the things that make up life.
Sleepy, dopey, Doc.
I forget all of their names, but They were in Destiny, which was an aptly named episode. But they are the wills. They are made. They're not called the wills. They're called WHILLS because they represent everything that composes the Force. All of these emotions, happiness, sadness, anger, serenity, joy, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Now, my conspiracy though is we know from the short story Master and Apprentice that a Force Ghost sees all time simultaneously, past and future, right? And this should be true of all Force Ghosts. So my conspiracy is that technically the will of the Ghost is just a collective hive mind of all Jedi who have died with light in their heart, and like an amorphous version of that. And the only people that can directly communicate it would be those who have retained themselves. But it's almost like I don't want to spoil anything, but the Sybil system. If you know, you know.
I would also include all Force users that die with light in their heart. And
I should say that. But because of this, Force Ghosts, when they appear, people are like, how come the Force Ghost didn't appear and didn't fight this person? How come they didn't save this person? Because they see all time simultaneously, and they may know if I say too much now, you won't be here and do this thing then. Or if I say too much here, it'll scare them and they'll hesitate. Or it's almost like the Oracle in the Matrix, right? She'll say something that is not true just because she knows it'll lead you to the correct decision eventually, And so I think for me, that explains Force Ghosts and why they choose to be where they are on certain places. And sometimes they do have to do direct intervention, right? Obi-Wan appeared to Luke and was like, go to the Dagobah system. He would not. Well, he would never have figured that out.
Well, hold on. I don't think that's intervention. I think because they can see extemporally, I think they know they are part of that flow. When they say I can't interfere, when they say I cannot interfere, they're like, oh, I'm not a part of this. I don't affect this flow of we'll say time, for lack of a better term. But when they realize, oh, this is where I appear and help Luke.
Yeah.
This is where I can do this. And so he does that. And then when Luke's like, I'm going to go fight Vader, save my friends. I can't interfere with that. I can't help you with that one.
Knowing he's going to get his ass beat. He's going to get his hand chopped off. But I can't help him because if he doesn't go through that, he doesn't make it through Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I would actually hardcore disagree with that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Ahsoka had a similar experience in season 1 with Anakin. Anakin was just trying to help her being trained. But Luke, in Shadows of the Sith, Anakin comes directly in and interferes against the darkness.
Well, that's because they were of the Force. They were wraiths.
Yeah, I think that's because Luke was not in reality when that happened. You know what I mean?
He couldn't defend himself.
He stepped into their realm.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah. But yeah, that's where my mind goes. Especially because I just watched both Link Click and Rascal Doesn't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, which,
jeez,
both of those fantastic, but they deal with weird loops in amazing ways that blew my mind. So highly recommend.
See, when you said the whole loop thing and you brought up the Oracle from the Matrix, I went to Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Everything y'all say just means will or fate to me. Maybe I'm more spiritual. Well, no, there's a difference between predetermination and self-determination. like there's a hard distinction between the two. One is you're in control of what you're trying to determine, and the other is it's out of your hands.
That's the other thing, is I also believe, and from what we've seen and from Luke's belief, that if you remove, by removing himself from the equation and from the Force, that the Force would essentially nominate someone else, and that's the Force Awakens in Rey. So yeah, it's not predetermination, because if you don't fulfill your thing, something else can try. It doesn't mean that it'll work, but something else can try.
That's why we say that the will of the Force is just wanting to be in balance, right? It is not imposing a will where it's going to control people towards it. So when Luke leaves, the Force is like, all right, Rey, step up. And then, like, that's where the story goes. I do want to address Kenny saying this is why I think the prequels did a lot of harm to the Star Wars universe. I agree, but that's based on the narrative, because Palpatine is controlling things. What I mean by that, and what I'm taking your sentence to mean, is that the prequels was largely about the fall, and the fall of light and the rise of dark. Revenge of the Sith is the final movie.
It was about the characters.
Yeah.
It was less about the Force overall, but more about the characters.
And so Palpatine, like, it was villainous design that was the entire story of the prequels. And it was the Jedi being blinded to that design that led to their downfall. And how that harms the Star Wars universe, that I would agree with, is that it shows people a side of the Jedi that is not hopeful.
Yeah. But Kenny Huron, we would love to talk to you about the Force, about Star Wars sometime. So
I'm new to streams, but have been watching Element and Choco on TikTok for a while. But hey, we appreciate the conversations all the time.
I'm having a blast with the conversation.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but you won't find a community as engaging as us when it comes to either discourse, like disagreeing, or agreeing. Because I find myself in disagreement with Kent Kari a lot, but we're still
all the time.
Close.
Me and Pep currently are still having a little dispute about a video game hot take and Cal's lightsaber. Like I'm still trying to come up to a response against it.
Let's get Choco. So okay.
Uh-oh.
Survivor displays Cal having a double-bladed saber that is Jaro Tapal's design, right? And there's no canon information as to whether he went back or found it or discovered the sister emitter. My explanation leans heavily on Battle Scars, the novel, where we know that Seer gave Cal her lightsaber to
graft on, yeah.
But then, like in Battle Scars, Marin talks about how Cal is always in his room tinkering with the lightsaber, and Grease also says that Seer built a new lightsaber. So she built a new lightsaber. Cal still has the parts for his old one, but I also lean on the fact that while there are game mechanics that aren't canon, his discovery echoes the parts that he finds. Those are in universe canon. So when he finds the sister emitter to Jaro Tapal's lightsaber to be able to customize it on the workbench, that is canon. So he has that part. So like my explanation is like, yeah, he first rebuilt with, the flared emitter with Seer Junda's scrap parts. But then, from the 5-year gap, he built a new one and fashioned it around Jaro Tapal's original design, just like out of homage. And Kenny has a different take on it.
My opinion on it is there is that big 5-year gap. Who knows what happened during that time? All we have is one book going over one particular mission. Cal could have gotten some sort of mission or found something that was relevant to either pushing the path forward or what they would become the path, or they heard something else that Cal wanted to intervene on oh crap, what's that Scapper world?
Braca?
Braca, thank you. Goes back somehow, not saying that was the main intent, but somehow comes across Jarl's other half, and that's how he gets it. But I can't argue with what Pat brought up.
No, I was just thinking I can't argue with either. You know, both of them are are logical. You know what I mean? And so like I can't take a position that doesn't truly exist.
The only reason mine deviates is because I'm using the information from the books to kind of mesh together a possible explanation. But if you have something different that you thought of, Choco?
Not yet. I honestly, that didn't bother or stick with me. You know what I mean? Like,
he was just staring at me.
It was just a TikTok that I saw from somebody else had made a comment about it, and I'm like, wait, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I made a TikTok about it. Thought I'd bring both you and Element involved just to see if I am wrong. If maybe that there might be an actual logical explanation, something that I've missed.
So where my mind went is it's based off of Ahsoka.
Really quickly,
they just have a box. They just have a box of parts, and he's like, "What is this? Oh, this is the same part that my master used. I'll use it too." I was just like, "It doesn't even have to be the same one. Like maybe he just found another one." Finding, as you're going through old Jedi stuff, you're meeting Jedi trying to save them through.
But Hu Yang would have the sister parts to everything.
Yeah. But I'm saying, I don't know that that's the only one of those that was ever created.
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. I don't know. He went to Space Home Depot and saw that and it was like, oh, word.
I don't think so. Like, just out of just like a foundation, there were 10,000 Jedi, even more so before the High Republic, and they're all building lightsabers on the freaking Crucible. There's got to be brands and models and multiple stock of each brand and model. You can, I don't think he has one unique design of a part at all, and a Jedi from 5,000 BBY takes it and it's lost forever. I do think
but
that
more to your point, Pep. I mean, right in game, you saw him battle this random saber user, and it's a crossguard. He takes the custom emitter off of that piece of the saber and puts it on his main saber. That is a canon thing. He literally can put interchange stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I that's why I'm saying I do think that whenever we look at background Jedi and the lesser known Jedi, they always have lightsabers that look just a bit too similar to each other, very kind of very generic. So I feel like he has a drawer full of iPhone looking parts that's just all kind of similar chamfered edges and the ringed emitter. And sometimes maybe Hu Yang might fashion one because in the High Republic they say they customize them a lot. So there's a lot of ornate designs there. But then the Guardian protocols come in and they stop doing that and they mass produce lightsabers. Yeah. So there's a lot of parts that will look like the same. And just like with Level Up Saber and the stuff that I have, they're all the same parts, but I can make the bruiser look different, So it is Is Jaro Tapal's
I just-
a unique piece, or is it just something that Hu Yang would have, or you could find? You know what I mean?
Listen, I just want to find the Jedi production factory. Like they're like, who is Jedi Master of CNC machine? You know, like he's. I don't know. I just think that's funny.
No, they have a secret Sith Lord down below, and his name is Darth Hephaestus.
Ferdipeth says, as someone who's never been mad about being in the galaxy far, far away, I deeply appreciate y'all. I appreciate that, Ferdip.
Yeah. Also, to Dex and Download, I just want to say I'm sorry I wasn't able to support your content more when you were doing your videos and stuff. But I did enjoy them when they were, and you're always welcome to hop on here and hang out with us.
Oh, absolutely. I tried. I mean, I think I was on Dexon's, like 90% of Dexon's streams, just kind of like roasting him. But my intent isn't what's important. I was there supporting.
Yeah.
Elise said a couple minutes ago, most Star Wars content creators are rather close-minded, opinionated. Sadly, even Star Wars Theory. He says he's open to debate, but good luck trying. These gents are gems in a sea of those. I appreciate that, Ellie, and I would forward that to our good friend Kenny here as well. To everybody in the DYAD community, they have their own opinions, but when we disagree, we're open to that discussion. And it's never a good thing when you're married to such opinions that you can either never be swayed or you will never entertain listening to someone else. Right? If you stand your ground around The Rise of Skywalker is a horrible movie, and you're unwilling to listen to somebody that loves it, that's not an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
We love interesting conversations.
Also, at one point, I was friends with Star Wars Theory, and I pointed out something he said was wrong, and he got mad. And
that still boggles my mind that you were actually neutrals with that man. Like that is still crazy to me. You were so polar opposite of him.
But I also think he leaned very heavily into it because Choco was popping off at that time, and I think he stitched Choco on point. He's like, "That's my good friend Choco." I'm like, "Dang, Jesus Christ."
No, but we were. I mean, there was a group of us that were talking and stuff, and largely all of us are still friends, except him.
Exactly why I'm here. The nuanced discussions are great. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. That's our mission, man. Listen, like the conversations around some circles are boring. It's like, hey, I saw this movie. What'd you think of it? Woke. Garbage, trash. It's like, okay, well that was a 2-second conversation.
Well, I mean, when we talk about why we love things, we get personal. We talk about how they affected us as people, and we're truly giving opinions. You know, I feel like the conversation that focus on the negative don't do that. It's a blanket statement that could be said for anything, whether you've even seen it or not, or it's pretending like you read books that you haven't read, or read comics that you haven't actually read, or just quoting someone else. You can't do that with something you love, and so that's why those conversations are just always better. You know what I mean? How many times do we hear the same exact complaint verbatim for something? It is constant. But how often do we hear the same exact verbatim comment for something that someone loves? You never hear that, and that's what it'll always be a more valuable.
On this channel with me and Choco because we're a dyad, but that's only 2 times. It's only repeated. Well, it's repeated constantly.
Until you throw me in there, and then it's a crazy chaos thing.
I know that we've talked about Great Jedi like 5,000 times. I miss old school Star Wars Theory. Grew up with DSW sequels and watched countless Theory vids to find out more about the franchise. I loved him so much, but he changed. We all used to love Theory. Yeah. Like I watched his videos too. I was a subscriber.
I didn't even know he existed until I got on TikTok. Like at all. he had one weird take that I didn't agree with, and then it was just a slippery slope from there. And I'm like, yeah, how can anybody follow this guy?
So
Well,
I followed a lot until I got into. I had always read some of the books, but when I got really into reading and like I started just devouring a lot of Star Wars content, and I started being like, "Oh, he's wrong a lot." So that's also where you won't find people who read a lot of Star Wars books who follow him. But I don't want to make the conversation about him. We can go back
I will
later.
say the turning point is when he deleted his takes on the sequels.
Oh yeah, because he liked them when
loved
they
them.
all came out. Yeah.
You know, when I made my Last Jedi review, all those years ago, he had a similar take. And I was like, right on. And then like there was this sharp either incline or decline of just hate for it. And I was like, where did this come from? Like you were like stoked about these things.
Yeah.
But that's going to have to be me. My phone just hit 5%. I've got to get off.
Yes. Say hello to the family.
Thanks for joining.
I will, and keep your wife healthy. I overheard that conversation earlier.
Yeah, stop poisoning.
As long as she can just lay down. She
Dude,
keeps getting up to do
that's
stuff.
the problem with
Like, you had
marriage.
surgery.
I will give you heavy hints right now. That's a losing battle. Pick your fights, brother. Pick your fights. Like just if she's going to go do something, just remind her once and let her be.
Bro, if she's not gonna lay down, bring a pillow and just put it on her standing. and she's gonna be like, "That's annoying. Stop. No, this pillow's behind your head until you lay down." Anyways, thanks for calling, Henny.
Also, Kenny, there's a request. Yeah. Can you give where people can find you and your content?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Kenneth Carey. I am also known as Kenneth Kari. That's how you pronounce it. I'm primarily on TikTok. All I do is mostly talk Star Wars. I've been trying to get more into like Pokemon and some gaming content. But other than that, Kenneth Kari on TikTok, just as right here. And please give me a follow. I've been stuck at the same number for years now.
Yeah, check them out for sure.
Is that a Kenneth Hamner reference? I don't think I know who that is.
Who? What now?
They asked if it's a Kenneth Hamner reference, but I think that's just your OC name, right? That's
just my name made Star Warsy. Like that's it.
Oh, you removed the Nith part from Kenneth?
Yes.
Okay.
I shortened the longer name and I replaced the Y with an I.
That's how I Star Warsify names. I remove parts of a name.
Right.
Speaking of games, I've been following Wu Chang Fallen Feathers for a long time. I need that game. I don't have any money, but I want it. You should check it out.
I've been stuck on TCG Pocket of late. I am addicted to the shorter mainframe of cards that we have. I'm completely addicted. I love that game.
But my Star Wars name for Choco is Bandon. It sounds Star Wars, but it's just removing the R. It's Bandon.
It sounds like you're trying to say ban him. Like that's what it sounds like to me.
It just reminds me of how my little brother would say my name when he was like 6.
I'm not saying Brandon. Brandon.
It was Brandon. It was Bandon. It was Bada.
Oh my god! All right, I really gotta get off, guys.
All right,
take care, man.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right, let's go into our bonus segment, and I think Choco has some TikTok questions to go over, so let me get the first one on the screen. thank you guys so much for rocking with us and sticking around. Really appreciate you.
My
Well,
main
first,
Svotor that I write fic about is a name that has meaning in both Arabic and Sanskrit. By accident. By accident.
Nice.
That's awesome.
bro, gotta be extra. Darth Spihu to rock. Why does Spihu make me think of spittoon? Egyptian word that means sword and sun. Oh, okay.
Darth Tyrannosaurus Rex. I like it. I like Darth Sploder.
All right, here's the first comment. There are plenty of valid criticisms against Disney Star Wars, yet every time I see these lists, it's all stuff that either doesn't contradict canon, doesn't adhere to fan theories, or just straight up didn't happen.
Yeah, so just, one of my mutuals here, and so I want to start by talking about this to talk about like what is valid criticism, what makes criticism valid or makes it invalid, and how we feel about that, because I've had that question asked. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Pep?
Listen, if it's a criticism based entirely on the contents of the project, whether it be a movie or a TV show, it's valid. If you have a problem with its pacing, if you have a problem with its dialogue or where the story is, a story decision, it's a valid criticism. What isn't valid is saying something that didn't happen. Making statements like this broke canon when it didn't. Because to make those statements, you have to know canon, right? You have to know the lore. Or complaining about actors and the writers and the directors that have nothing to do with the show. Now, you can dovetail into the writers complaining about the writing. But when you complain about lesbian space witches, first of all, that's just wrong. Second of all, that has nothing to do with the show. The Night Sisters exist, so we know that matriarchal groups are a thing in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if it's engaging with the content honestly and kind of analyzing it to a point where you can either like or dislike it, it's a valid criticism. But for the most part, bad faith takes I'm not going to say typically, are always invalid.
Fully agreed. Yeah. I mean, listen, if you have to ignore facts, ignore information, make up your own facts, misrepresent what happens to prove your point, then you probably don't actually have a point, And so as long as your criticism doesn't do those things, then yeah, it's completely valid. And also, I think there's a conversation to be had on opinions, which I know sounds weird because it's an opinion, and opinions can't be wrong, can they? Kind of, right? Because if it's based off of invalid or incomplete information, when you find out the correct information, that should change your opinion. I have a good friend. He hated Rian Johnson because he killed Luke. He was like, I hate him for making that decision. It was like he decided to break the toys in the sandbox so no one else could play with them. Pablo Hidalgo comes out and says, oh yeah, back in 2014, we decided that Luke was going to die in the second movie, right? That wasn't Rian Johnson's decision. So would you still blame him for it? You shouldn't, because it wasn't his decision. You know what I mean? Now that you know the answer, that once valid opinion is no longer a valid one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing is things that are not that are complaining about things that happened in the movie that are disconnected from the narrative. Like Rey shouldn't have beat Kylo, who's fully trained. We'll take the fully trained out because he's not fully trained. Rey shouldn't have beat Kylo, but she did. And that's something you have to accept. That's not a valid criticism. That's just you don't like that she beat him. But then the movies address it when Snoke says you were unbalanced. You were beaten by a girl who had never held a lightsaber. That's when you go, oh, okay, so he's unbalanced. That explains. But like continually grinding the gears on why a protagonist lived is a little weird.
That's like saying, how come that shot didn't hit him? And you're like, because the movie would be over.
Yes.
You know. And then one last thing before we move on to the next one that I also want to point out is when there's something that happens with new media, especially when it's a continued story. Like we form thoughts and opinions, a zeitgeist forms around it. Well, what happens a couple years later when something new comes out and it disproves something that we believed, and we've believed that thing for the past 5 years? Is it wrong, or was my assumption wrong? Right? If you're unable to parse that, you're gonna struggle, because there's some things that I believed to be true, but I found information, and that information disproved what I thought, and I have to update my lexicon with the new information. Right? It's like the people who got mad that Wikipedia updated, and you're like, that's literally what it does. that's the only thing that it does.
Yeah, I also think you have to reconcile with what you expected to happen, what you wanted to happen, versus what did happen.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that Luke didn't show up on Crate and completely mollywop the First Order and crush those walkers, it's a great idea. Not really Jedi-like, but it's not something that is a point against the movie. That is just something that didn't happen that you wanted to happen. Okay? Like, if I wanted this car to turn right in a movie and it didn't, that doesn't mean the movie is therefore bad because it made that decision. You don't agree with that decision, that's fine. You don't agree with how they portrayed the battle on Crate with Luke, that's perfectly valid. But it's not a point against the movie that it didn't agree with what you thought was going to happen or wanted to happen. Right? And so therein lies the squeaky, the thin line from valid criticism to invalid. Illy says Rey is kind of a Mary Sue, but so is Luke in the OT. Like, this is like my bottom line on it. They're all Mary Sues, or none of them are, because you cannot distinguish any of them. Anakin blows up a control ship at 9 accidentally, not knowing the controls of an N1 starship. Luke blows up the Death Star with an X-wing, and his only experience in flight is terrestrial. He's a bush pilot. He doesn't have any space flight or extraterrestrial experience. And even like what's his face, the leader of the squadron, it's like, are you sure you can handle this thing? See, he's the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim territories. That's great. I'm talking about space flight. Is he a good pilot in the space? Right? So there's that, right? Rey, I would say her moment of what is a Mary Sue is living through her experience with Kylo, and not in the fight, but escaping and pushing back his attempts to probe her mind. Now, I do acknowledge that is the Force awakening in her, apart from, the Force vision and the echo or the psychometry, but it's just as unexplainable as all of the other feats of the protagonists.
I mean, even that I push back on. I feel like she has the least amount of feats. She's
She does.
of all the protagonists. She's the weakest in the Force of all the protagonists. She has the most reason to be competent than all of the other protagonists. Yet somehow she's considered like it's weird to me. I think there's a weird ideology that, well, it's a mind trick, and that's like the most complicated thing. No one said it was complicated, and I honestly believe that any Jedi that excelled with empathy would be able to do it, you know. And if one way to guard against it is just to not be weak-minded, it's probably not super crazy, you know. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, though, if you are at the end of the day, you can't be a Mary Sue if you are not a self-insert character, and Rey is not a self-insert for J.J. Abrams or Lawrence.
Yeah, we're going off of the fan assumed,
yeah,
I guess, parlance when it comes to Mary Sue. But I think the biggest, I mean, I guess the best comparison would be Rey's mind trick to Luke's telekinesis. Both of them come out of nowhere. One of them actually was the first time it ever happened on screen, and nobody batted an eyelash. We're like, oh, I guess that can happen. And we're in a time where stories of the Jedi do exist. We can infer from how Rey reacts to Luke being mentioned and General Han Solo meeting him, that she is privy to all those stories. The Jedi were real.
And we know that First Order stormtroopers are weak-minded. They are constantly propagandized and are forced to listen to it while they sleep. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is that I like to make this distinction. Luke didn't believe, Rey did. So that made her training all the more robust rather than Luke, right? We have it in Empire Strikes Back. I don't believe it. That's why you fail. In The Last Jedi, he's like, reach out with the Force, and Rey is literally reaching out for something tangible. That is an earnest that everyone should have kind of taken away instantly. It's like, wow, she's just like an open book. She's a sponge.
And again, she failed at connecting with Force ghosts, right? There was some things she was good at and some things she was bad at, and just because, you know. But Kenny here on the chat says, can I ask you if you think I have a valid criticism of sequels Luke? And yeah, your criticism is absolutely valid. You said it says I don't think it killed Luke, but I think he just wasn't properly set up in the way he was supposed to be. And if I'm interpreting your question correctly, for one thing, you expressed a pure opinion, right? That's always going to be valid. The thing that usually invalidates things is when they try to pretend their opinion is not subjective and they try to use proof, and the proof is wrong, right? That's normally what invalidates things. But yeah, and I agree with you because, well, I partially agree with you. It's super valid. Thing is, it was not Luke's movie. It's not Luke's trilogy. This is not about Luke. Now, if it was about Luke, then yes, they would really need to spend more time on Luke and explaining his character and what happened between these two time periods. But that story is not relevant to Rey's journey, right? We're telling a story about Rey's journey. I know you want to find that information out. I want to find that information out, but that's not what we're telling here, you know. And that part enough. You have to be okay with. Yeah, they gave the context, they gave the details, they gave you enough to understand it. Maybe sometime we get a book to show it, or a comic that marinates in it, and I think that would be great.
There's some in Shadows of the Sith.
Yeah, no, we definitely get shades of it. But like not a full detailed, you know, feeling of that night and exactly what was. I mean, we get bits of it in Rise of Kylo Ren as well, but yeah.
We do agree. We do want the 30 years.
Yeah.
Like a TV show, or even a TV show where Rey's reading his journal, right? Shows his 30 years. Like, see what that's all about.
And we can we'll save the rest of these questions for next week because we are running out of time. But
we'll do a couple more. We can try to keep it concise. This one says, Choco, wasn't there a Vader comic with art of Palpatine behind Shmi gesturing to her stomach that at least implies that he was responsible for Anakin?
And yes, absolutely. There was a comic that had an artwork with Palpatine gesturing behind Shmi. The thing is, you got to read the comic. So there's a lot of people who saw that panel, that single panel, and it blew up on social media. People were writing op-eds. Oh, it looks like this happened. Those people didn't read the comic. The comic is not saying that Palpatine created him, right? And if you continue to read, it should be pretty obvious because because Anakin also didn't solo the entire Jedi Council, and Padme didn't come back to life and then yeet herself off of the temple and then be struck by lightning. None of that was actually happening. That was all in his head, and that was the dark side being an unreliable narrator and playing on his fears. Now,
I mean, literally the panel beforehand is him stepping into a different scape.
Exactly. And a lot of people were confused by this, though, and they still are because of how many people posted about that and just entered this thing into the zeitgeist despite it being wrong. By the way, that's the source of most negativity about Star Wars, is bad information that's in the zeitgeist. But even the author and Matt Martin from the Lucasfilm Story Group had to come out and explain, if you're interpreting that way, that is not it. That is not what's happening. We are not saying in any way, shape, or form that Palpatine created Anakin. And that's the author is saying that is not what I intended. And the story group, Matt Martin, said, if that was what he was intending, I would have stopped him from making this comic.
Yeah. There's two things that will never happen in Star Wars, thanks to George. Yoda's origin and Anakin's origin. The only thing we know is what he revealed, which is, Shmi gave birth without a father. So, inferring that he is of immaculate conception, but to reveal that, no, he was a product of Plagueis or Palpatine, that's never going to happen. And even in Legends, they never really did that anyway, like in the book. Right? Yeah. It goes as far as, could it be? And then that's it, And
then for anyone who does want to check that out, that is the 2017 run of the Vader comics, and that is issue 23 or 25.
23.
It's the final issue. But again, read that story arc. Don't just start with that issue, right? It's actually really cool. Darth Momin is an interesting character, and I like him a lot. He's a dark side architect.
But I need to know the planet and see a world of Yoda and Yaddles. I don't know if I do. You know what? The furthest I would take this is at least a name for the species. That's it. Because that doesn't really reveal too much of anything else, Random.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, Yaddle is one of his Hear Me Outs.
Yes.
Mine too.
And that's only if she's being voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard at the time.
Yeah, it was the voice.
Darth Angel says, random question, what happened to Jar Jar after Order 66?
Poor guy. So the end of Jar Jar's life, I guess it's not the end of his life, but we find out about it in one of the vignettes in the Aftermath books. And so basically everyone blamed him because he was the person that suggested that the Palpatine get the extra Senate powers in Attack of the Clones, right? So people blamed him. So he was ostracized. He was kicked out of the Senate. He went back home to Naboo. Everyone on Naboo hated him. And he ended up homeless and living in the public square. And he would make he would do funny dances and stuff, and people would give him pocket change. And then there was a kid was a burn victim, and people were afraid of him, and he became friends with Jar Jar, and that's the end of his story.
I'm not sure I'll ever be able to buy Palpatine Plagueis making Anakin. No, I mean they're never going to say that, and it didn't happen. Like I said, the most that it does in the Legends continuity is Plagueis has an experiment where he tips the scales of the Force to the dark side, and then when they meet Anakin, all Palpatine really just kind of like speculates that the timing lines up. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, at that time we were, but could it be? And so like, but no. All right. I think the one of last two will do. Can you talk about what bring balance to the Force means and how Anakin achieved that? Because it seems like he didn't based on the sequels I'm new to Star Wars.
I mean, do you want to start first on this one?
No, go for it. I'm going to load up the next and last one.
Okay. Yeah, so a balance in the Force is, I mean, there's two ways people think about it, but one of them is objectively incorrect, right? Balance is not a scale where you have this many Sith and this many Jedi, and then that's what equals out. Because even in the context of the original trilogy, that doesn't work out. It would have been balanced during the original trilogy, because it would be Yoda and Obi-Wan and Vader and Palpatine, right? Wouldn't that be balanced? Anyways, balance is more akin to harmony, and again, we like to think of it like an ecosystem, and the ecosystem itself is in balance, and that's what you're trying to do. Now, what the Sith do is they are selfish. They want to take things from themselves, and they don't care about the natural order of things. So they will destabilize this ecosystem for selfish reason, right? Picture poachers who are killing animals for personal gain, knowing that that'll actually destroy the balance of the ecosystem, or loggers who are constantly chopping down trees and it's not going to be able to sustain itself, right? So in order to create balance, you have to remove the cause of imbalance. And that's what Anakin successfully did. Now, the thought is that you could remove that by killing Palpatine, which is absolutely true. But the death of the Sith is not necessary to remove. All you need to do is stop that stuff from happening so that the ecosystem can heal, right? Through Anakin's actions, he removed the dark side that Palpatine had been poisoning the galaxy with for decades, and the galaxy was able to heal and return to a place of balance. That does not mean that there's not going to be any threats to it in the future. That doesn't mean that, because Palpatine being a shell of his former self, trying to come back, like Palpatine wanted to come back and take over again, but he didn't. So it's essentially Rey protected the balance that Anakin brought, because the First Order never got to rule the galaxy.
Yeah, and in those movies, they also say verbatim, there was balance for 30 years. There was balance.
Yeah.
And the original prophecy, the language of the prophecy says, through him will ultimate balance be restored. And Anakin restores balance by defeating Palpatine and killing Darth Vader and removing that imbalance, or the source of the imbalance, from the galaxy. But if we want to think about things technically, Rey protects that balance by defeating Sidious's rise from the grave through Anakin, by virtue of being trained by Luke and Leia. So the prophecy never says this person will restore balance. It says through him. And so there's a lot of things that happen through Anakin.
Yeah.
And without Luke and Leia, the story is very different for Rey. I don't know where she gets her tutelage from. Maybe they have to bring back Quinlan because I'm a fan, but listen, through Anakin, by virtue of Luke and Leia, his children, training the next generation, balance was kept in place. All right, last comment. Citing Master and Apprentice as an example on why the prophecy makes sense is not a valid argument. The novel was written in 2019, so it's Disney Stars explaining why Disney Star Wars makes sense. Of course, they're going to retcon things for it to make sense. So, my first reply to this is, there was no prophecy before Disney. The prophecy was written by Disney. Now, did George say he's the chosen one? Is he the prophesied one? That's all. That's all that was there. But there was no written prophecy. So, without that from a Master and Apprentice, we're still left largely in the weeds trying to interpret what the prophecy means. So from the prequels, all we get was, will he restore, or will he bring balance back to the Force? That's all. That's all we know.
Yeah. So if someone says, "Oh, they destroyed the prophecy," my question to you is, what's the prophecy? Can you tell me what the prophecy is? Because if you can't, then you can't explain how it destroys the prophecy, you know? And, what's more, because I was told, like, oh, you can't refer back to, written media and stuff. And, like, I'm sorry, in an argument about facts and information, I can use facts and information. But even without using it, once again, in Revenge of the Sith, he says maybe the prophecy was misunderstood. Like, that's a line in the movie. So
misread.
Even if it was misread. So even if you try to stand on that, even in the context of itself, you don't know. And so it's not a valid criticism because you don't know what the prophecy is.
Yep. Even then, listen, the notion that Disney can retcon its stuff to make sense of things, that's what happens with all IPs. If
whoever owns the IP can retcon it, like that's how writing works.
Like, they can change the lore. Like, listen, if they really did break canon, they can. It's their canon. Lucasfilm owns the canon, but they haven't. Now there have been small contradictions from written to screen, but they're negligible. They don't change the overall canonicity and continuity of the Star Wars timeline as a whole.
And the other thing I also want to push back on is this weird idea that people have that as soon as Disney bought Lucasfilm, it stopped being Lucasfilm. You have the same people who work there. If you're Pablo Hidalgo and you've been there for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years.
Sostek's still there. Cheng is still there.
If a new company buys it and you are still doing your same job, why is it this weird thought that, like, no, it's them that's changing it, not Lucasfilm being the same exact people that it was before? That's a super weird thought that people have that irks me. It's not as Disney didn't just change everything.
It wasn't a takeover.
Yeah.
It was a merger and acquisition. And quite frankly, there really wasn't a merger on the executive side, because George was like, I'm going to appoint my own president before I sell this thing. And Bob Iger was like, God damn, that's a power move right there.
That's the other funny thing is what you brought about Kathleen Kennedy. If Lucasfilm did not sell to Disney, Kathleen Kennedy would be running Lucasfilm.
Still.
That was the plan. And then in the contract, it was that Kathleen Kennedy runs Lucasfilm. So if they sold to HBO instead, Kathleen Kennedy would run Lucasfilm. Like, so this weird thought that she is the Disney side of it is just fundamentally wrong.
A lot of people love the Disney side of it, which is Favreau.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys want like a citation for that, you can watch his interview with Charlie Rose. He says explicitly when they were talking about selling to Disney, he was in the process of moving things over and giving the reins to Kathy Kennedy, because she had worked with George Lucas on a lot of projects, and that's before any talks started happening with official proceedings. In that interview he talks about how he met with Bob Iger, and Bob Iger says, if you ever want to sell it, we're happy to take it. And when he did start to get the ball rolling on that end, he was already moving things over so that Kathy could take over. The truth about George Lucas. So yeah, we did do a video on it, and the interview is there too. Like we have always done for the past several years, our corrections and our statements come with citations, and it comes with clips, screenshots, anything that supports what we say.
And that is to say, we're not trying to we just want to correct the record, because once the record gets corrected, we can start having actual conversations. I have it. I know for a fact that Lucasfilm pays a lot of attention to Star Wars fans and to the communities. But if you are a part of a community that is basing everything off of nonsense, on bad information, on fake information, on culture war BS, they will actively ignore you. So if you really want them to improve, if you want them to listen to you, then we need to provide actual information and valid criticisms. Otherwise, they won't listen.
Super Ruiz popping in from SDCC. Hope you're having a good time over there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we should hit me up. Maybe we can hang out one of these nights. I'm not going to Comic-Con myself, but I live in San Diego, so
he lives in San Diego. I don't have a problem driving down. So if you're here, maybe past Comic-Con, or if you have some time to hang, let us know. I suppose if you have TikTok or Instagram, just send us a DM or something. But yeah. But that'll do it for this.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this episode. We have more comments to address in the coming weeks, and I think we'll make this sort of a running segment, because we do have a lot of comments. I have a lot of comments that we were going to go over as it relates to Jedi being the good guys versus the bad guys. Let's address this really quick. It's a really quick one. The Jedi mind control families to steal the kids, and their justification was that if it can be done, they do it. And I'm like, what? All of the stories that we have, everything that we get narratively shows the Jedi getting consent from the parents, or the parents willingly giving them. Even the Bardottans were willingly giving their kids over to the Jedi to train, and the Dagoyans were like, we want them to be Dagoyans, they're kidnapping. Those are the stories we have. You can't make a baseless claim being like, well, they can mind trick, so
it's possible.
They clearly did it, right? No. They didn't take children like that.
Hopefully that person is not in law enforcement. Did you kill this man? No. But could you have? Why do you ask? Is it possible? Yeah, that's a super weird thought.
I'm pretty sure the Jedi have never used the mind trick to kidnap Force-sensitive babies. They haven't.
No.
At least, listen. This is as far as we'll go with this main point, is that there are no stories depicting that. And when it comes to
we have seen people trick, not mind trick, but lie and use coercive means to steal babies. Those are Sith. That's what the Sith have done. We've seen them do it. That's weird to put that on Jedi.
But what I was going to say is, this is as far as I'll go, is that we don't have stories of it happening. Could it have happened? Yes. But that is not an argument to say that it did. Right? Could a Seeker have used mind control? Yes. But it hasn't happened. We don't have that story.
Yeah.
So like I said, I always say, as a lore master, we can't take a position that does not exist. Right? So this is our famous one. We can't say that Jango was a Mandalorian if A, we don't have info about him taking a creed, B, where he was born, or C, which family found him in canon. Right? In canon. Because the only information we have is that he left and became a bounty hunter, and those are all tenets that go against being a Mandalorian. Right? And so, yeah, you can argue all day long about maybe he was and left, or, you know, what have you, whatever you try to spin the tale. But being us, that position doesn't exist, so we can't hold it. Now, a story or a comic or a novel can certainly be published in the future where they depict Jaster Muriel finding him as a child and training him in Mandalorian and giving him his armor. Then the position changes to he was a Mandalorian, but then he left to become a bounty hunter. Therefore, he was no longer. It's the same thing as when Din took off his helmet and the armor was like, "You are no longer a Mandalorian." That's how
even in that
fickle
case,
is.
he would still have to have taken the creed. Because even if you're a foundling, you're still not yet a Mandalorian until you take the creed.
Yeah, and there's two schools of thoughts here, right? There's the birthright Mandalorians who swim in the living waters, and there is the creed with the Children of the Watch, or the old Mandalorian ways, right? Yeah. And that's why Din chose to bathe in the living waters, so that he could, by virtue and spiritually, call himself a Mandalorian again. But that's how fickle, if I can say a word, that's how fickle the Mandalorians are. You have to be Mandalorian born and then go through that rite just to kind of be like, okay, that's like the official paperwork. But if you become a Mandalorian by virtue of being a foundling and a creed, then your status as a Mandalorian depends heavily on maintaining that creed. And when Boba Fett says, I don't care about Mandalore, he's certainly not a Mandalorian there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this long. It is a long episode, relatively speaking, but we love hanging out and we love having conversations with you guys and answering all of the questions. Really quickly, Ari says open seasons may be legends and irrelevant to canon. That is still one of my favorite comics from the prequel era, and that
it's an amazing comic. I love
is
it.
valid. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out for this long. We'll see you guys next week on Friday, 5 p.m. for another episode of DYAD in the Super Force. But that's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all good guys. Honestly, I don't see a single evil person in this community.
Except Dex and Download. May that Sith Lord be with you. Appreciate you. Yub Nub for life.